about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Alrighty.
Hello.
She's
Hello.
back. Surprise.
I'm back just for the final episode. Oh, hey.
Yeah,
so
there you go. It works.
Hey, wow.
look at
It
that.
actually doesn't look terrible. I thought it would look a lot worse.
No, it looks good.
That's my phone.
I'm
Well,
kind of
that's
used to the
good.
penguin, though.
Yeah,
That's
used to the.
what's happening.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry to disappoint.
That's hilarious. No,
going
this
on,
is
man?
great. We get to see you. How's it going?
It's going. It's
How's
going.
2023 treated you?
2023 has been wild. Crazy year. Crazy year.
I think 2024 is going to be 10 times crazier, right? I feel like things are really
Everything's kind of
coming to a
just-
head.
yeah.
Yeah, we got the presidential election. We got aliens. We got Monero being
We got-
delisted from all remaining exchanges. I think we're going to see a lot of action this year, right?
I think so. I hope so. We kind of stink if it didn't.
So yeah, Sunita and I were thinking we could talk a little bit about, right? I guess things that we've appreciated in 2023, things that like
Ye-
accomplishments. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't make this like
Yeah.
we don't want
And
to drag
I
this
love
out.
you, Monero community.
We got Bawdy waiting for price report, and then we'll do viewers on stage. I'm thinking viewers on stage, have everybody come up. We can kind of do our 2024 predictions. That'll be fun. We could all
That
talk
would be the
about.
guest of the week.
And
So,
obviously, we'll be
everyone.
talking about
Nice.
the delisting. I'm sure Bawdy has some good insights into that. But yeah, in terms of highlights of 2023, what would you say as you sit back and reflect?
sit back and reflect. Well, the conference definitely in Mexico City. It ended up being like better than we expected. I felt.
That was an awesome. That was a
Yeah.
fun trip.
That
And
was
it was a great turnout.
yeah, I think that
Yeah,
was,
pretty awesome
Probably
turnout.
more than you guys prepared for.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than we expected, and like obviously the people are awesome. But yeah, I felt like it was better than because it was nerve wracking. That was not the first time, but Mexico City, we're far. We didn't really go there.
yeah,
and
there was
prep.
a lot that could have went wrong.
We went literally.
And there was a
flew in.
lot that did go wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's true.
electric, the internet.
But everyone was troopers. I mean, I felt bad for the virtual peeps, but most of them were understanding.
Yes.
We made sure
I
they
think that was-
understood
that
why.
that was most definitely our.
And we flew in the night before. I can't believe we did that. Can't do that for next year.
No, that was ridiculous. We
We're
won't
nuts.
be doing that for next year. What else is up there on the list? I would say Argentina.
Argentina, yes.
Argentina was
That
big one,
was high up there on the list of highlights for this year. When we went down there, we went to La BitConf.
That
and
was
then I
awesome.
Found my way to Formosa, to Iberete.
Yes, that was awesome for you.
That was big. That was a big moment to see that organically happening up there. What else for 2023? Like
We went on. Oh, MoneroKon was awesome.
obviously
Yeah,
MoneroKon.
MoneroKon was awesome.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, we started a bunch of new projects.
Yeah. I would say those are more things we're looking forward to for 2024.
XMR Bazaar.
XMR Bazaar any day now, right? Anarchio is saying we should have something to test before the year ends, right? He's like really aiming to
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see. That's super excited about that. I think that's kind of a right in the nick of time type of thing, right? Where we're with these delistings and the talk of how Monero truly needs to transition into just being its own ecosystem, not tethered to centralized exchanges. So obviously decentralized exchanges will be the solution, but I feel like things like XMR Bazaar are also going to play a vital role there, or whatever it may be, these marketplaces where people can live off of Monero peer to peer, right? So it's not just about going to an exchange and speculating on Monero. But if you want to acquire some, maybe you I don't know, sell your bicycle, or do some online, do some consulting, and sell your services for Monero. So I think that's going to end up playing a big role, hopefully, in helping to build out the Monero circular economy and untether Monero from the fiat world. So super excited about that. What else we got? Nodo. Nodo is so close. Another one that's like never been closer. We're just talking
Nodo
about.
looks really cool.
Yeah, Nodo is really coming along. Very excited about that. We'll have Abdullah on again because now we have an actual prototype that's been produced by the manufacturers, a working prototype. So we'll do a show on that and we'll show it off. And then what else? Oh, obviously Monerotopia 2024.
Yeah, 2024.
Which
stay tuned. We'll
we haven't decided.
Buenos Aires.
It's
still
set.
It's there, but we haven't been like, all right, let's do this. Yeah. Because it takes a lot of. I mean, yeah. Now we
started planning in the background, but we just want to make sure we can get enough ducks in the row before we completely commit. Because
it's a hike. I mean, it's not very close. I mean, it's beautiful, love it, but people have to figure out if they can get there, and that's the most important part.
It's far for us. It's not far for people that are in Argentina.
Yeah, obviously, it's around the corner. Andres will just roll out of bed and walk.
Like, Tux, what do you think? I mean, what's your perspective on that? When you hear Buenos Aires, is it like, well, it's that's out of the realm?
I mean, it sounds reasonable. Like, there's a lot that's happening in Argentina right now. Like, the president they got right now, and then if you want to do it like not at the same time necessarily, but maybe back to back with the BitConf. And of course, for us, it's probably a lot easier to go down there than it is for them to come up here, for sure. So.
Yeah. It's just not essentially.
It's still, my understanding is that it's still a pretty accessible area. It's far for different people compared to Mexico, but it's still pretty accessible like Mexico is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people want kind of have it on their bucket list of a place they want to go check out, especially like what you said with what's going on with Malay and crypto down there. So it just gives them another excuse, another reason to jump on a plane and come check it out. So yeah, I'd say we're 90% there.
Yeah, we just
Buenos Aires, and we'll probably announce that in January, right? Once we get a few more ducks in the row, and then alongside with that would be Copa Monero, which we have been working on it. We haven't officially announced it yet, but that if Monerotopia takes place down there, we're definitely doing Copa Monero, which will be that soccer tournament or football tournament for those who are not from the States. That we'll do in Ibarrete, in Formosa, in the little town of Ibarrete. We're going to have like 12 teams that are going to compete over the course of a couple of months, with the finals that will hopefully happen around Monerotopia 2024, and there'll be a relatively large Monero prize for the winner. So that should be super cool. And we're figuring out how to broadcast the games as well. We hooked up with somebody down there,
hopefully reliably.
Yeah, yes. Somebody who does this already, and they like it's actually pretty decent quality. They have they broadcast the games, and then they have like an announcer that well, I guess they'll be talking in Spanish, but it's
yeah, they'll be. But it's like if you're watching the shows on.
It's easy enough to understand. It's close enough.
It should be very entertaining. It should be very entertaining. Maybe some gambling will happen on the side, not officially, of course. But we're excited about that, Copa Monero. And yeah, I guess that's it. And gratuitous. Right? We're looking to go down to Colombia maybe in February. I don't know. That's always a hard one to try to fit.
We got to figure that in.
But yeah, I'd say those are the big things we're looking forward for 2024, which is a lot.
That's a lot,
guys.
It's like every year.
Like just the conference itself is
going to be it's
going to be a behemoth.
Yeah,
it's going to be a beast.
But excited, looking forward.
So yeah, anybody who's been following us, those are the things we have on our mind. Obviously, we appreciate all the support thus far.
All the love and support from everyone.
We hope to continue to have your support, guys, and to help spread these projects and participate in the things we're working on. And As everybody should know already, Monerotopia is about growing the ecosystem. So anybody that's working on anything Monero related, you're always welcome to jump on the show. Reach out to us if you want to be a special guest, or you just jump on at the end of every show when we have viewers on stage. This is really meant to be a community show, a place where we could all come together and build out the Monero community. And as we're seeing, once again, with the delistings, I think a resource like this is more important than ever, right? This is how we do it. We just have to ignore the regulators, do not comply, and just build out our own circular economy over here. And that's what we'll continue to do in 2024.
Monero moves on.
Monero moves on, that's for sure. With or without us. Anything else you want to throw out there, Anita?
No, I guess just, yeah, thanks to all the support and the love from the community. And, we wouldn't be here without you guys. And our sponsors. Thank you to our show sponsors, Cake Wallet and Local Monero for, supporting us throughout the year. Really appreciate it. And I guess that's really it.
Yeah,
basically,
let's move on with the show.
We don't want to bore you too much, guys. I'm sure you're excited about the prize and chatting it up with the rest of the gang. So I guess that's really it.
Sweet.
Shall we move on to price report?
Price report. Last price report of 2023. Let's go.
Easy, right? We're sitting on a cliff over here.
On the edge of your seat.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Oh, buddy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year,
man.
Let's see. Let me get me sharing on this screen. So, unfortunately, I think this price report might be a little bit anticlimactic. I got some Christmas toys, and I was putting them in my main PC, or not really PC, but computer, and my power supply went out. So that took me all of 2 days ago to figure out and replace. And then now my CPU is overheating because I'm pretty sure moving my case around got air bubbles in my little hybrid all-in-one cooler, so it's making like gurgling noises. So I'm on a borrowed laptop here, so hopefully
your power supply makes some magic smoke.
No, it didn't do anything. It just like silently died. I was like, man, did I like short something on the motherboard? Has dust finally murdered my my case here? Yeah, but no, I finally did the pin test. Apparently, you connect 2 pins together and it should start the fan, and it didn't do that. So that was a good indication that the power supply was gone. So, anyways. What's up?
Unfortunate.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like I have to open my case and reconfigure things to connect this stuff, and you just know the chances of something going wrong when you have a steady state system. Like, you just never want to touch it. Like, you do servers, so like if it's working and it's complex, just like don't touch it. Like, handle it delicately. Like, maybe don't even restart it. Like, update it in place if you can. Like, that's just
my server is a pain in the ass to restart.
Yep.
I totally understand. Come on, guys, donate to Body. Get this man a new power supply for his computer.
No, I bought it. I actually found a store finally in Mexico that like sells this stuff. In Mexico, everything is like shipped. You buy it and they ship it to you. And it's hard to find sometimes stores that have like specialty items.
I mean, to be honest, that's a lot of the ways things are going here too now. Like, I mean, most PC stuff you have to buy online now, unless you have a Micro Center near you.
Yeah,
we may or may not have a Micro Center nearby,
or a Fry's. Is Fry's still a thing?
No, they're out of business. They died.
Man, they were the best.
They're all going away.
Never heard of Fry's?
I don't think that was a New York thing. Micro Center we have.
Yes.
Lucky. I'm jealous.
Okay, so I think I'm sharing my screen now. Y'all tell me.
So, buddy, this
hold it up, but there's nothing there.
Hell of a way to end the year, though, right? I feel like, with the delisting.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like, finally, thanks, guys. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure how much Binance matters anymore when it comes to Monero. I think we got the word out. I think most people got off of Binance. I think they're still used in like fixed float, Changely, and a bunch of these other like they're not decentralized, but accountless exchanges. So maybe like the liquidity there is still kind of important for those kinds of trades. Definitely, it's going to be a liquidity hit, but man, I'll take the lower liquidity and see how we do on our own with price. I'm not. So after we found out, after Howard Chu showed us that they were using Monero miners and probably at a loss given how like inefficient those miners were, I now really question whether or not did they finally get enough Monero to cover their books? Did they spend some amount of time like basically covering those shorts? I think that's possible. I'm not sure that we should expect any massive price pumps. And if anything, remember the last time that the cabal tried to like do a planned delisting of Monero off Bittrex, even though there was like no volume on Bittrex. Remember, like price, everything just like relatively tanked. Our price relatively tanked. The charts didn't make any sense. Don't be surprised if they delist Monero, and it's not confirmed. I don't think we've like heard an official word from Binance. They have been like delisting in countries here and there, but if like they totally delist Monero, don't be surprised if the cabal still finds a way to sell Monero and take the price. Like, don't be surprised if they saved up a little stash to try and like push the price in the direction of the narratives they want to create. So this might be like some short-term pain. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but like it might be. So just be prepared for that, guys. If we get that final delisting move, like the cabal loves to move price in the direction of the narratives that they're promulgating. So but overall, I mean, this is a good thing. Like, is holding your coin on Binance, is that really adoption? No. So I think ultimately this ends up being a good.
Definitely overall, it's what we've all been waiting for, right? Anybody who's been in Monero for the legitimate reasons knows that this was kind of the direction things were headed, and the way we want things to go. But there might be some growing pains that go along with it, right, as we transition.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll really have to get more liquidity onto the different dexes. Bisq already has pretty solid liquidity, although I haven't checked it out in a while. I need to just reinstall it. I just deleted it years ago because I'm like, well, I'm in Monero now. I don't need Bitcoin. Occasionally, I unfortunately still do need Bitcoin, but yeah.
But I will say, like things that come to mind, right? Like you said, like there are instant exchanges that I think rely on Binance, but even I've been talking on the show how you can go down to Buenos Aires, right? And you can go into these cuevas and you could exchange US dollar bills for pesos. You could also exchange crypto for pesos. All those cuevas use Binance, is my understanding, right?
Oh, interesting.
Like even that right there. Now, does that mean you can no longer swap your Monero into pesos down in Argentina? No, I guess you'd have to, use another, exchange your Monero into another crypto and then exchange it at a cueva. But it's just like there is going to be added friction there in places where it's going to effectively be harder to on ramp and off ramp. I mean, that's obviously is going to come with the delisting.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There was a guy, I can't remember his name on Twitter, but he was arguing that lower liquidity is a bad thing, and I tend to agree. Like I kind of debated with him a little bit that it's not always necessarily a bad thing, but in this case, like lower liquidity is going to make it, like you said, more friction to use Monero to get in and out of it because it's not really a popularly accepted currency even among cryptocurrencies. So it still requires us, unfortunately, to swap somewhat often. Looking into 2024, maybe there's an opportunity there with Malay and Argentina. I mean, I've said, hey, I've been thinking about moving down there ever since he got elected, but I really want to see him follow through. And so far, like what we've seen is follow through. We've seen him doing things that I've never seen a politician anywhere ever do or reported to have done in history. So this is pretty good. Like this is a good sign. I want to see it continue to follow through, but there might be an opportunity with the cuevas and liquidity and crypto and just going down there and starting a business between dollars and crypto.
For sure. Yeah, we did. Actually, I had this guy on last night. His name is Nate. I don't know his last name. he's what is his name? Token Dynamics or something?
Yeah, Token Dynamics.
Token Dynamics. Maybe he's the guy you were talking about on Twitter. Because yeah, I had him on, and we obviously the whole show is basically about the Binance delisting. So we'll be posting a couple of days, and his overall take is initially there is going to be a lot more volatility. He's thinking after the delisting, because of the drop in liquidity, there'll be more volatility. He thinks there's going to be, like a drop in price, I guess a scare or whatever, but then ultimately he sees, Monero rising because of it, because of this theory that there's paper Monero that was being, issued on Binance, and that will no longer be the case. And once Binance is gone, all we really have in terms of centralized exchanges, major ones, is Kraken. And there is this thinking that Kraken, isn't participating in printing paper Monero because of who they are and the people that have, that are behind Kraken, Jesse Powell. I mean, obviously we don't know, but that's the thinking. I don't know, Buddy, what do you think of that overall assessment?
I would very much like to believe that Kraken is honest here. It was kind of weird the other other couple weeks ago when when they didn't really respond to us, and they I can't remember their exact phrasing on it, but it sounded like they were telling the truth, but in a way to avoid saying more of the truth. I think the lower liquidity, so definitely low liquidity implies the potential for heavy volatility. Really what we want is upside volatility. We want high buy side liquidity and low sell side liquidity. But who knows what that's really going to look like. There's still going to be demand from darknets. There's a significant amount of infrastructure that's been built out over the past couple of years. I do think that, his assessment that a price drop really could be in the cards. I'm not super confident that I'm not sure whether or not Binance has covered for their fractional reserve. They might have, because of those Monero miners. If they have covered that, then we shouldn't expect significant price pumps anywhere in the near future. But if they have to close all of that out and wind it down, then probably we should expect to see Monero pumping significantly. Maybe an initial crash where they'll try and crash the price. They'll try and make everything terrible, get the news out, whatever. Buy up as much Monero as they can so they can cover their books. That might be a strategy that they're going for. And in fact, if they're fractional reserved at all, unless they're 100% reserved now, probably that's going to be the play. That's probably what they're going to do. They're going to put the news story out there, hit the price, and then try and scoop up some Monero. They'll be limited in how much they can do that. In terms because if they want to really hit the price, they're going to have to coordinate somehow. Kraken is probably the least bad player out there. I hesitate to say that they're good, but I mean, I think they should be pretty good. Jesse Powell really has me convinced. He seems like a good guy. So
yeah,
I mean, I think I think that analysis is pretty close. To probably what will happen.
But we don't know if he's even really calling the shots over there anymore, right? So who knows what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And they're getting sued by the government now, so who knows what kind of deals they might have to cut there to stay alive.
Right.
So,
but ultimately, it would seem that there would ultimately be kind of a premium for Monero, right? So if it's going to be delisted from all centralized exchanges, but yet there's this strong organic demand for it for purposes of digital cash, right? Anybody who wants to go on the dark market or whatever it is, anybody who truly needs digital cash is going to have to go and obtain it. And because of the added friction and less liquidity, I would think there'd be kind of a premium in price, just like we see with local Monero, right? There's a premium there versus what you see on centralized exchanges.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot to that. I mean, we have organic demand for particular use cases at a minimum, right? We have organic demand for certain use cases. So that demand, especially in darknets, no one's gonna be like, oh, I'll just go use Bitcoin now. Anyone that's been using Monero isn't just gonna be like, well, it's too hard to get on the we're gonna find those people are gonna find other ways, and that demand is gonna persist. And ultimately, that's what keeps us going. I think that's why Monero is still here, is because we really do have organic demand and usage.
Exactly. And those other ways of getting it are just going to get easier and easier to the point where it's almost going to be indistinguishable from centralized exchanges, I think.
Yeah. And then too, like, unless you're okay, so for the people out there that need to buy $1 million at a time, $100,000, $200,000 at a time, it might be a little bit, it's going to be harder for you. But if you're just buying 1,000 here, 5,000 there, whatever, you can use local Monero without a problem. Like you can get on there and make that trade. And there's plenty of places to do that. You can get it like cash. You can get it to your bank account. Like there's still going to be ways of finding that liquidity. And oh, by the way, you could still just buy Bitcoin or buy Litecoin or whatever, and then swap that on an instant exchange somewhere. Or you could buy Ethereum and test out those atomic swaps. I would say Bitcoin, but I don't know. You got to compete with wizards now.
Transaction fees too high.
Yeah. I redid my screen sharing. Have y'all, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
We got it.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Looks like it's there.
So, let's see. Unfortunately, I don't have too much prepared, but also nothing that exciting has happened. Why don't we start with the stock market, I guess, because that's the most exciting thing that has happened in the past week or so. Basically, stock market, NASDAQ, so tech stocks. This was the previous all-time high that was set back at the top 2021, November. And then finally, the NASDAQ has beaten that, right? It's gotten above. You couldn't say the same for Bitcoin, right? You can't say that Bitcoin is back at its all-time highs and has beaten its all-time highs. So at the moment, I mean, the NASDAQ is still outperforming Bitcoin. And this is a trend that tends to happen where it's like, if we looked at, maybe we can even pull up the chart, crypto versus stocks. It's been hard for Bitcoin to actually beat the NASDAQ except for big liquidity pumps. So, I think that's on purpose. I think that's not like unreasonable considering the way that price is managed. So right here, this was 2017. That was the 2017 peak. And Bitcoin is still not above its 2017 peak in terms of the NASDAQ. So like if you had bought Bitcoin at the peak in 2017, you would have basically been better off having bought the NASDAQ unless you were smart enough to sell the top here. At some point, like another big liquidity run is going to happen. And, Bitcoin's probably going to beat this other all-time high. I don't think I've done any kind of regression analysis on the Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ, but I really should. I've got scripts set up so I can just like kind of automatically do this pretty quickly. But there's just so many things to do, right? How am I going to do them all? Maybe I can just like send those scripts to other people, publish them on GitHub and let other people play with them and see what they can come up with. Okay. So anyways, yeah, the NASDAQ has gotten above its all-time highs. It's now kind of popped above. We talked about this a few weeks ago where it's like really to feel like bullish. If you really want like that bullish feel in the NASDAQ, you don't just want to hit the all-time high. You want to beat it before you maybe make some kind of pullback here. You'll notice that this channel, we had talked about this channel since really last year. Like this channel has been a year-long channel that's been relevant for us. Let's mute the liquidity for a second. That channel has been relevant for us for price for a while, kind of popped above it here. We're now above it again. And I'm probably just going to be looking at this channel in a continuous fashion here for the rest of next year as well. Yes, price will probably be above it, but I don't expect it to just parabolically go above that channel. Right now, so I've been kind of thinking something. I'm not really confident that this market pump is actually a good thing. I'm not sure that it really spells good news for the markets. Like if everything was fine and the economy was fine and there wasn't like really any major problems in the international stage and the dollar was good and strong and the US was strong and the bonds were strong, yada, yada. What would be the need to pump the market like this? Why would you need to create this to create this situation where the market is just pumping back to new all-time highs? Is it because inflation is so bad, like people like they need to manage people's expectations so that people don't feel like they're like going broke with inflation? Are they trying to outcompete gold? So gold is currently pushing up against its all-time highs. A story that I guess I hadn't heard of, probably because it wasn't reported anywhere. China had 4 banks with the LBMA, which is the London Bullion Market Association. The LBMA was allegedly created to sort of overcome the manipulation of, I can't remember. There was like another major like international gold exchange or market. Anyways, so China had 4 banks that had joined the LBMA in like 2015, 2016. And those 4 banks quietly withdrew completely from the LBMA. They're not on their list anymore, at least That's what's being reported quietly by a few different sources. But it was completely unreported by the LBMA or by mainstream media at all. So Shanghai and I believe Beijing, but maybe it's just Shanghai, they have their own gold, like international gold exchange now. This is one of the ways they're facilitating their own cross-border payments and gold settlements with Russia for oil and other different countries. And I believe recently, as of the past month or so, the first gold settlement was accomplished by China, like for some kind of trade balance. So, it does seem like there might be something to this story that the world is de-dollarizing. I think it's more like a slow motion train wreck, or at least it has been for the past, let's just say, few years, maybe let's just say 3, 5, 6 years, something like that. Banks still use U.S. dollars in their central banks as reserves, but they are definitely, especially the big countries like China, Russia, they do seem to be trying to do trade in things apart from the dollar, but that transition is slow. My guess is they don't want to massively disrupt the economy because the international economy is so integrated. Like China sells so much of their stuff to the United States. They don't want to just crash the United States and crash the demand, crash the dollar, because then they lose a trading partner and they lose a lot of revenue. So it does seem to make sense to me that we are seeing a transition here away from the dollar, but it's slow. I think it's a lot slower than people would probably prefer. So anyways, that's a little bit of a side rant about gold. Next year, I do think gold has reasonably good chances to perform well. I'm a broken record on that one, I guess. I've been saying that since last year. But okay, all right. Gold kind of finished last year down here, and it's done good for gold. The point of gold is to be stable, to be money, and you don't really want your money to be heavily volatile and like oscillating massively. So, but also you want your money to have a fair and honest price, which I don't think gold does. So when that happens, you get this volatility occasionally where it's going to just pump to the upside. So the way this chart structure looks, you would think, oh, well, you could go the entire year of 2024 just kind of oscillating in this range here. And maybe, right? Maybe. But given this wick that happened above here, set a new all-time high, given that we've had now multiple weekly closes, in fact, we could take a look at the monthly here. Gold is now about to close this month, so last month and this month above, or at least at the previous all-time highs. So I guess this is actually the monthly close here because the market closed yesterday. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is a bullish chart, right? You look at this, you definitely would conclude this is a bullish chart. Maybe we could take a look at the yearly because it's the end of the year. So yeah, I mean, looking good on the annual chart, right? We're closing another year higher than gold has ever closed before. Last previous annual close was 2020. So yeah, that's kind of a little rant there on gold for you for the new year. Let's go ahead and take a look at bonds, because some weird things are happening with bonds. We've seen this drop off here. So this means that bond prices are increasing, right? The yields are dropping, which means that the value of older bonds is now worth more, right? The bonds bought here have a higher value than bonds issued here. So we're seeing this thing again where the federal funds rate, we are now seeing the short-term yield. I think that's the 3-month. 6-month. We're now seeing the 6-month yield just ever so slightly below the federal funds rate. And remember, we talked about this. Once we see all of these yields below this federal funds rate and moving down, if we see like that curving down, that's really a warning sign, especially if the yield curve inversion does that. So there's totally a possibility that happens in 2019 and 2020 before the whole pre-planned medical nonsense. It wasn't really medical. It was really just government nonsense. They pumped the markets. Like the markets probably shouldn't have pumped. They pumped them like parabolically out of trend. And so if we continue to see the NASDAQ pumping parabolically out of trend and then these bonds doing this, we're going to have to really watch our backs for the possibility of some like big crash event that could be happening. It's not here yet, but we are seeing slowly like a slow moving train wreck happening in front of us, but potentially, like I said, I'm using a colorful language here, but maybe they figured some stuff out and they're just going to continue pumping the markets and we're not going to have a pullback. That happens, right? That happened from 2009 all the way to like 2019 or 2018. And even the 2018 was only a 20% or 15% pullback. And then things just continued to go up. Like we didn't get anything beyond 20% until March of 2020. So that's longer than a decade, right? That is an entire decade of just number go up. So I guess, maybe we'll just have to see if the signs turn that direction. We'll keep you updated here weekly on the price report, hopefully in enough time for people to take evasive actions. Let's take a look at Monero. So I don't think this is fair. We had this like big red candle, probably. I mean, who knows? Probably, maybe this is partially related to the news of a Binance delisting. And again, probably maybe that's just the cabal like trying to make the candle seem what the news is saying, right? Although I think the news came out on Thursday. Was it Thursday or Wednesday? I don't remember. So we didn't get an immediate drawdown on that. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely broke down below that support line there, but Monero tends to break down support lines and then come right back. So I wouldn't be too worried about that crash. Or, I mean, I say crash. What is that? Like that's it's almost nothing. That would be 8-9%. Yeah, so that's nothing. Okay, we go to Monero versus Bitcoin. Yeah, we also kind of broke down what was a slightly support line here as well versus Bitcoin. I guess, I mean, we're basically looking at those same stinking prices that we were at relative to Bitcoin in at the height of the hype and the bull market and the leverage and the fraud and all that. So I do wonder to myself, like, is this a sign that these prices we're seeing in crypto aren't real again? Are we really like, should we really believe those prices? I don't know. There's the ETFs coming up. It would be just so special if the ETFs get approved here in the next week or so, and then that marks another major top, right? Maybe that marks Bitcoin at, like, let's just say, I mean, 47K is the resistance point, and probably that's a very prominent area for everyone to watch, to look at. So it's hard to, like, maybe we don't get all the way there, right? Maybe there's just too much selling here for price to actually make it to this obvious sort of 47K area. We definitely are in the standard deviation band areas where, where we talk about the potential for that topping action. Let's go to the daily. The bands come out more cleanly that way. Yeah, so these long-term blue bands, these are this is the top of the standard deviation range. And again, these are just, in my mind, they're sort of like silent psychological levels that people have in aggregate that they don't really know that they have, but it's kind of like a map for seeing some of that. So, excuse me. So, yeah, I think that, we've already kind of hit like this lower band cluster right here. This is really would be another topping area. But the ETFs get approved, maybe we can take a big shot up to the top side here for a moment. But I do wonder, like, how many people are thinking about the same deal? Well, the ETFs got approved. The things, I don't hear anyone, at least on crypto Twitter, I don't hear anyone talking about that. I don't hear anyone say, hey, by the way, guys, remember the last time the ETFs were approved? And remember when Coinbase got listed and that was the literal day of the top? And remember December 17, 2017, when we got listed on the CME and that was the literal day of the top? I still don't hear hardly anyone talking about that. So maybe there's like,
is that like the oldest, like buy the news, sell the event type of thing, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like that Bitcoin is like the perfect example of that. I guess crypto in general, but yeah, and I still don't see anyone talking about that, being suspicious, of what could happen here when the ETFs get approved. So maybe there's just plenty of juice to squeeze. I'm assuming there has to be juice to squeeze, or this pump wouldn't have happened. So.
It would also be that, right, the large holders like the Michael Saylors of the world or whatever, wouldn't this be a time when they'd be looking to potentially sell a lot of their Bitcoin, right, as they try to sell it into a pump?
Boy, that would be interesting if Saylor sold. I don't think he might be able to, like, in the background sort of covertly take shorts against Bitcoin to protect his stack. And he's probably big enough and smart enough to have done that. Like in terms of MicroStrategy and macro strategy, I think there's this other company. Yeah, like I don't think he would actually unload Bitcoin itself. He wouldn't unload those bags. That would be too traumatic for the markets. But he might have taken a short against that stack to protect it. Another thing that happened of interest, Mt. Gox finally made some payments. But
oh yeah, you've been talking about that forever. So that finally happened?
Yeah. Well, It's man, they seem to find every way possible to delay. This
Mm.
time, they made payments to people's PayPal accounts, but they made double payments. And so now everyone has to send those funds back. But not everyone's going to send those funds back. So some people already withdrew the funds and
How did
deposited
they
it to their
fuck
bank and
that
spent
up?
it.
They sent everybody double payments.
Yeah, I don't think they sent everybody, but they sent a lot of people double payments. So now, what are they going to have to do, right? Oh, well, we messed up. Oh, sorry. Well, I guess we need an extension to sort this all out. Blah blah. It's just you can't convince me at this moment that that wasn't intentional. They did something in the background to fuck that up so that they could delay the payments again.
Mm.
Now you could probably just say it's a Japanese lawyer that's like, yeah, I want to keep stretching this out and getting my paycheck and my legal office and team, and we're all getting a fat salary here on the basis of the Gox coin until they're finally paid. And it's actually like this is apparently something that happens pretty commonly with trustees that are supposed to be distributing assets like this. So
Did you say sent double payments? I was listening to the recorded stream audio. I didn't hear who it was.
Gox, Mount Gox, the Gox
Oh
trustee.
yeah, yep.
So yeah, I mean, now it's like, well, they're gonna have to freeze all the payments, and like, well, what do we do about the people that won't send the money back? And we can claw it back from PayPal. Clawback is a legal term, but it's not the right term there. But you know what I mean. We can claw it back from PayPal, but then that's bureaucracy and paperwork, and I mean, it's just how on earth could they have screwed this up after having like literally two years to plan it out? And that's been their whole thing. Oh, we want to make sure it's done right. We
I
need
mean,
to
their whole MO is just screwing things up, right? That's enough. They were just meant to be a magical right? When did they start as a trading company for like those like magic cards or whatever they are? Wasn't that?
Yeah, they were like a game. I don't know, some kind of game in-game asset trading, or
they just added Bitcoin and got in way over their head.
Yep.
Whatever happened to Mark Karpellis? Is he still around? Like, is he still like saying stuff? Is he on Twitter?
Yeah, he's like a year ago, he said, maybe it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, actually. Jesus. 2 years ago, he was like, well, we think the payments might start in September of 2022. He occasionally makes some comments. I think he's still like apprised of things in a way that's like slightly insider, but I mean, he went to jail, right? He went to jail for like 4 years. So I guess went to prison then. Supposedly he got pretty buff in prison, didn't have anything else to do.
Did he? That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Mt. Gox
was a Magic the Gathering online trading site, and that's what it stands for. Mt. Gox, MT Gox, Magic the Gathering online exchange.
Oh.
And it was basically a third-party exchange for people to trade those cards.
Right. Before Bitcoin even existed.
Yeah, we were like 2006.
Being one of those people on there that was just trading like magical, what is it called? Magical.
Are those things Magic the Gathering online?
Magic the Gathering. I mean, imagine just being one of those people and then just kind of falling into Bitcoin from there, because that was kind of your way into Bitcoin. That's incredible.
Magic cards, magic internet money.
Right.
Natural fit. But yeah, the Gox trustee now is like a Japanese lawyer that's like handling. They're supposed to be handling the assets of Gox, the remaining assets, to distribute them to the victims. So like, it's definitely not even the like original Gox people at all. It's just like a totally different organization, and it's still screwed up. So,
what's the number? Like approximately? It's like
140,000 Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. But yeah, they tried to make the fiat payments. That's what the PayPal thing was all about. I'm pretty sure it was just the fiat payments. And then they screwed the very first thing they tried to do. They screwed up. So I don't think it was an accident.
Right, I forgot. And then you have all that Bitcoin Cash there too. Which you were theorizing that maybe some percentage of that moves into Monero, right? Especially the Bitcoin Cash people. Right, there's overlap there between. Right, because those are old schoolers. Go ahead. Yeah,
I was theorizing that that a lot of the Bitcoin would move into Monero, because the Bitcoin Cash doesn't represent a significant amount of volume, like of money.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're like, if we just take the relative market cap, let's just say 0.5%. If 0.5% of 141,000 Bitcoin move into Monero, that's about 70,000 Monero. Or wait, I think I have that wrong. That would be like 300,000 Monero. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. 1% at 14,000. Nah, you know what? I'm not going to try and do
What
public
percent is
math here. I didn't get much sleep last night. So.
1,400. Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, it represents a significant amount of money that could move into Monero, and especially in a low liquidity situation, could definitely move the price.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's going on with Gox there. I guess, we don't really have too much else to talk about here. If you guys wanted to cover anything in particular, this is Bitcoin dominance. So it looks like it's broken down. It's rising wedge here. This is good. Screw Bitcoin. Like, there are solutions they could take. They could like talk to some Monero people and be like, yeah, you know what? Why don't we limit SegWit? Like, first of all, why don't we just reduce the size of SegWit from 3 freaking megabytes to 2, and then tack that other megabyte onto base transaction data? Why don't we limit the number of outputs? Or if you need to use, say, 100 outputs, you're going to have to pay a premium on those. Why don't we make it so that if you use more than the base, so you got your base transaction data, which doesn't include the signature, and then about 60% of that base transaction data is going to be needed for the witness data as a signature. So like in most transactions, in most monetary based transactions, you don't need more than the base transaction data. So the base transaction is like, I don't know, let's just say 150 bytes. So then you need something like 100 bytes of signature data. I mean, these are rough numbers depending on like which of the many protocols in Bitcoin you're using, but you don't need to use more than 100% of that base transaction data in witness. So why don't they make a graduated pricing structure so that the more data you use in witness, the higher you get charged for it? Like there's so many things they could do to make this problem less bad, but for some reason, it seems like all the people associated with Blockstream and small blocks are so focused on how nothing can be done and you can't stop it. And none of them are saying, none of those people that push the small block narrative that were associated with Blockstream at some point in the past that made this whole thing happen, they're responsible for SegWit and Taproot, by the way. None of them are saying, yeah, maybe we should reconsider the price points, stuff like that. None of them have said anything in the kinds of like mitigation strategies that Monero took. Why not? Like it just pisses me off. Like I still, like, as much as I talk shit about Bitcoin, I still would like to have seen it like fixed enough for it to be used, because we need a digital freedom money. And we're going to need multiple chains. If we maxed out Monero's capacity while remaining decentralized, like we're still going to need other chains. So I don't know. It's a freaking rant. Anyway, so I don't care if Bitcoin's dominance is dropping good. Go ahead, man.
No, I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago. We said, hey, I don't really have a strong opinion on what happens with this chart, but we are kind of in the moment where, people are optimistic. So then shitcoins like to pop off when people think Bitcoin is going to be doing good and is in a bull market, et cetera. So right now, I think the presumption is largely Bitcoin's in a bull market.
All right. I'm just sitting here thinking, how exciting is this though? Right? Like we're entering 2024. This is like max entertainment. Monero is being completely delisted from all centralized exchanges. I don't know. It makes me smile. I think it's
as people post JPEGs on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's I never thought things would play out to like literally this degree with regards to Monero and Bitcoin. Like Monero is really proving itself to be the best form of digital cash. They're delisting it. They're literally just going after Monero and Monero only.
I mean, that's hilarious. Like how much of a plug that is. It's like, yeah, y'all are so scared that you'll have to delist it.
Right. Crazy.
But it's all privacy coins.
Yeah.
Oh,
one? Especially Dash. We don't want people accessing Dash.
Anyone that calls themselves a privacy coin, regardless of whether you are or not, it's like, even if you just like the idea of supporting privacy is wrong think, and we'll delist you.
Yeah, I think it's funny to see like the Zcash people like jumping on this, like how they're being attacked. Meanwhile, Zcash has gone out of their, like literally has made design decisions based on trying to interface with centralized exchanges. Right?
Yep.
I mean, Monero is really the only crypto that has purposely gone out of its way to not interface with centralized exchanges and not being able to apply KYC AML on the coin in any way.
Well, Zcash needs the exchanges. How else are they going to sell? How else is Zuku going to buy stake with his 20% dev tax? But one thing I learned about Bitcoin
I
recently
want
too
to
is
piss Zuko off. I like Zuko. I've been trying to get Zuko on this show forever. He got all pissed at me for
he blocked you, right?
Yeah, he basically was pissed at me. I was like surprised what it ended up being about. It was when we had Vic, I think, on here, and we were talking about whether or not Zcash should be added to Cake Wallet. And obviously, I guess I was opposed at the time, and he took it personally the way I was like describing Zcash.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I've heard a lot of drama about Zcash and Cake Wallet.
Yeah.
I know the whole story.
I mean, what do you guys think about that? I don't even think I was all that opposed. That's why I couldn't believe he was so pissed at me. I forget, or maybe I don't even
He's a
remember.
big blocker, man. He blocks everybody.
Yeah. And so now he's not really part of, has he moved on from Zcash or something? Is he not really?
Oh, I would need to find a way to follow him because I'm blocked.
Yeah, is he not developing on it anymore? I don't know. I haven't.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd need to check that out.
Follow that.
Use Knitter, and then you can view his profile.
Yeah. That's actually every time I see this, you can't see this tweet. I just go.
He's kind of been quote unquote dethroned as the CEO of Zcash and somebody else, right? I think I haven't been following closely, but I think there's been internal conflict there. Like people didn't like some of the decisions he was making.
Interesting.
I could be wrong about that. I'm sure there's people.
I mean, that might be some fun drama to get involved in, for a moment. But, yeah, one thing that happened with that I realized with Bitcoin. So these BRC20s, they're like ERC20s, but for Bitcoin, apparently they issue them as mass UTXOs. It's they'll do a transaction and then just pollute the UTXO set with shitloads of these BRC20 tokens.
So $20 fees isn't enough, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it depends on the day. Tried to send a Bitcoin transaction a couple of days ago, and it's just God dang it. But and then all the same people, all the same maxi tards are oh, they're polluting the UTXO set. No shit, they are. So put a cap on the number of outputs you can have and force them to do. If they want to put 1,000 outputs, well, guess what? Now they have to do 100 transactions. Suddenly those economic price points might not make so much sense anymore. But they're oh, we can't do anything. It's well, you know what? Y'all fostered that ecosystem that says you can't change Bitcoin at all because it's already so perfect and the best money in the history of the galaxy, both past, present, and future. It's now you can't actually fix anything. You shit in your own bed, now sleep in it. Clap, good job, guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm just I'm cranky because I didn't get enough sleep last night trying to fix my damn computer.
Body's done. He's done with it.
Technology is not working.
I love the Wizards, man. They're just epic troll. Now they love Bitcoin so much, and they're using all of the same arguments against the maximalists. And it's you know what? Maybe if Bitcoin diminishes eventually here, maybe some other better coin could fill that vacuum. A real digital cypherpunk money.
Hell yeah.
I think we all know what we're talking about here.
I do want to ask you are you going to stick around?
Yeah, I'll have you guys. I'll be listening.
All right, because I want to ask you straight up your predictions for 2024 to put a number on it. I know you probably don't want to, but it'll be fun. What you're predicting the high could be, the low, but we could do that all together.
Okay, yeah,
yours.
Good. That gives me some time to formulate my whatever wrong predictions I'll be making.
All right, buddy. Cool. Anything else you want to bring up?
No. I mean, I could talk forever about price. There's other stuff we could look at, but Ethereum BTC is still holding in this big ass triangle here. I still, we'll wait. We'll wait till we get to the predictions point.
Yeah. All right. Let's do that.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys.
All right, buddy.
Happy New Year's.
Thank you so much,
thanks
man.
Always, buddy.
Thank you for everything you did for us this year too, man. Big thank you to Bawdy.
Thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate you giving me an opportunity and a place to share my thoughts.
Of course, man. All right, we'll keep moving and we'll see Bawdy in a little bit. Should we do the news, or should we bring everybody up and do one of those things where we go over news together? Or is that become too complicated?
Up to you. And I guess whatever Tony wants, because we got Tony this time once again.
All right, let's try to run through the news so everybody hears the topics. We don't have to, and then we'll do viewers on stage, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that want to jump up today.
Tony said he can bring people, but it's up to you.
Tony said we can bring people.
Yeah,
right,
he just said sound chat.
Let's do it. So let's
Viewers on stage?
let's run viewers on stage. Get everybody up.
All right, let's do it.
Well,
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
come on down. Last viewers on stage of 2023.
Hello.
Hey, Tony, how's it going?
Hey. Good. How are you guys?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna share my screen. So let's do that. Okay.
How's it going, Tony?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good. Yeah. If anybody else wants to jump on up, we'll put the link.
Actually, let me bring.
If you want to drop the link there.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me get
going
YouTube on my iPad.
What happened?
I'll get YouTube on my iPad in case people have questions in the comments or anything they want to comment.
Okay.
All right, so we have this. Hey, Alaska Anon. Hey, man.
We got Alaskan on shortwave. Uber Blue. Yeah, Tony, let's we'll try to run through the news, not take too much time on it, and then we could have people comment. Or I guess we could open it up to comments as we go. We'll try that out. Sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I'll try to keep things moving.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start the news, and then if anybody wants to comment anything, or anybody wants to hop on or comment on the previous article or anything, just literally hop on.
I see that there's 40 people watching, guys. People are welcome to jump up if you're, give it your first go.
And all the people watching,
we had up to 50 at some point. Like and share, guys. We never. That's going to be my 2024 promise to myself. We'll have to start saying that more often.
Yes.
Like and share the episode. Let's see if we can.
This is my first time reading this. Oh my god.
Oh, is it really? Yeah.
Crazy.
Let's get into it because it's really interesting. So basically, Binance has categorized privacy coins into 3 groups based on their willingness to comply with implementing an exchange-only address type. Immediate risk of delisting. Coins like Monero, which has already stated it will not comply, will likely be delisted next month.
Based.
I love that Monero somehow anthropomorphized and has become a person that's stating it will not comply. I will not comply.
I'm not gonna give it, but it's funny. Like coins like Monero, they use the plural. Which other coins? Like coins like Monero. It's just Monero. Which other ones?
Monero is becoming the generic term for privacy coin. That's like crazy. It's like you Google it. You go to Google. People don't say go to search it. You Google it. Monero is literally becoming a de facto term for describing digital cash. Coins like Monero.
Exactly. It's also funny when people start using DuckDuckGo and they try to say DuckDuckGo it, but it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound as good as Google.
That's hilarious.
That's why you say duck it.
Duck it.
Oh my god! But like, see, that's another thing that I appreciate about Monero is that it actually has a cool name.
It's got an amazing name. I was thinking about it the other day. I mean, it's just perfect for the meme of being global digital cash.
I remember back in the Yahoo and Ask Jeeves days, I was trying to tell people to use search engine, like use the word search engine, or you're going to end up with something like Band-Aid instead of adhesive medical strip, because when you use like all of these random terms, you end up with one brand name kind of consuming the market share.
Yeah.
And now here it is forever later, and there's like this resistance against using the words Google it.
Right.
it reminds me of trying to convince the farmers to use open source software in like 2000, and now none of them can use their tractors because they're like entrenched in this horrible monopoly.
Yeah. Yeah, but they also mentioned under review projects like Zcash that are actively seeking compliance solutions, but may face community or resource challenges, have been given until the end of February to comply. Then we have compliant or actively working towards compliance. Coins such as Fire, which have adopted or are in the process of adopting the new address type, are not at risk of delisting. So if you want to be a good boy, let's say, then you're gonna fall into this category. If you're a bad boy, you're gonna be in the.
They're literally listing it in order of, you know, which coin is most digital cash like. It's hilarious.
And then someone said this was interesting.
Oh, binary. Yeah, this is super interesting. So yeah, this is the backstory behind who actively said they will not comply. They were communicating with Binary, and who else was it? CS from Lester, whatever his name is. Yeah. So what did Binary say?
So Binary Fate said specifically the Binance folks responsible for the listings were in touch with Celsta and I and asked, Celsta, exact quote. Any plans to be non-privacy token, i.e. all transactions and address are fully traceable on blockchain and no optional feature to shield or make it private? No.
That is bizarre. I mean, it doesn't even, how is there such a large disconnect between the people that work at Binance and what Monero is? Like, that makes sense. I had that same moment when I was communicating with the Bitmain miner company because they had reached out to us. They wanted to be a sponsor for Monerotopia. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were interested because they were interested in starting to produce ASICs for Monero. And they just couldn't understand this concept of Monero being resistant to create. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. If you created one, you should, but they just had no understanding. I kind of get the same feeling here. Like, for Binance to ask if Monero had any plans of not being what it is makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, sure. Let's make a CSS for it.
It's like reaching out to Bitcoin. Do you have any plans of like centralizing it, not making it decentralized anymore? Because
I still want to know who they asked and who this spokesperson is. Like, Doug, were you talking to them? Come on now.
No, it was Binary Fate. He's showing you right here. It was Binary and Celsta. They were the ones communicating with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and Paul said ridiculous.
I'm surprised that they didn't say like there's no person who can talk on Monero's behalf. Like, it doesn't exist.
I don't even think they clearly don't understand that concept.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think
we'll swing back to that because I'm gonna ask people what their predictions on price are.
Yes, and it's actually like a good segue to go into this now. Someone said in the YouTube section, bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? So now let's talk about Samurai Swaps. So Rotten tweeted, Samurai Swaps internal beta spotted having close to 10K blah blah Bitcoin sitting in the unspent whirlpool liquidity. Bitcoin to XMR cross-chain atomic swaps will pick up steam from settling P2P deals, reducing reliance on CEXs. They list away privacy. Honey Badgers doesn't care. And someone posted this picture, which is the most Eastern European picture ever: beer and cigarettes and olives.
Yeah, right. Or is that Spain? I heard somebody say Spain. That could be Spain, right? I can see the olives and
yeah. Could be Spain, or it's definitely Europe for sure, based on how the packet looks like.
These are the samurai videos. It's funny.
Yeah. But he said Monero swaps demo by Samurai Dev last night. I was amazed at how smooth and fast it went. Really game-changing stuff. So we don't need Binance at all.
Super exciting stuff. I gotta get the Samurai guys on a Monero talk or on this show at some point, because my understanding is they're only implementing this for purposes of washing your toxic change, right? I don't know if anybody has insight into this. That's a Samurai person. Tux, are you familiar?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Like, is it? Are they gonna? I don't think it's being implemented into Samurai for purposes of doing atomic swaps back and forth into Monero and Bitcoin, but for just a toxic change component when people whirlpool, is my understanding. Which I guess it will eventually evolve beyond that. Somebody's asking, where's the best place to buy Monero? Good question.
Not Binance.
Not Binance. You got a few days.
Not Binance.
Local
Monero, right, is what most people would recommend. In cake
I would say the best place is anywhere that's a circular economy. Sell your goods or services for Monero directly.
Exactly.
Second best would be a local Monero.
Yes.
And then, of course, you can buy alternative cryptos and atomic swap. But there are all kinds of resources where a person can find out how to do the last one online. But really, it's all about selling a good or a service for Monero. That's the #1 best way to do it, Mr. One with Nature.
That can't be stressed enough, right? Yeah, that's what XMR Bazaar will be all about. That's how that's how I make my Monero. Providing services and earn in Monero. That is the #1 best way to obtain.
I responded to Tux's question about how people get Monero.
Yes.
You get yourself some scuba gear and do recoveries from boating accidents. There's a lot of Monero to be had.
Gonna have to go deep, very deep, to find anything at all. Yeah. Okay, so let's move forward. This one was interesting. So the darknet market kingdom was recently shut down in an international operation. How? Well, apparently the owner thought it was a good idea to use Bitcoin and send exchange details / passwords as well as seed phrases to his own email address. So, yeah, and then it got shut down, essentially. The seizure of the market server infrastructure began on December 16th and included LE agencies from the USA, Switzerland, Moldova, and Ukraine. Okay. Kingdom Market was launched in March 2021 and allowed its users to buy or sell illicit drugs, fake documents, stolen information, and other goods and services. It had over 42,000 listings, and in addition to placing a seizure banner on Kingdom's Market's homepage, LE used the market's PGP key to make a post on the thread, taunting its users. So, yeah, just by making mistakes like this.
Yeah. So what did I mean? So they would have been taken down anyway, even if they were using Monero. It sounds like they were just extremely sloppy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't the main thing. Yeah.
What? Anybody have any insight?
I would point out that there's a huge difference about using Monero, and that is people who used Kingdom would be in far less danger if they were a Monero only exchange.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. Protecting the users. Anybody have any good Alaskana? Maybe you have some insight into percentage of dark markets that are essentially Monero only or primarily use Monero.
If I were to go by the last thing I saw on Dread, I think it's like 84%. That somebody else might have seen it more recently, but I'm pretty sure it's like 84% are Monero only.
Oh, wow.
And that means like literally no other privacy coins or whatever you want to call them, just freedom, I guess.
Makes sense.
And the number is going to keep going up and up. I saw this below. The same person that tweeted this post said, I didn't notice before, but the German authorities were having a laugh, like it seems. They changed the name to Fallen Kingdom And then use the private PGP key to notify peeps on Dread that Alan Bill was arrested. Wow. Yeah, so it wasn't the fact that they used Bitcoin. It was the fact that, he decided to send all this information to his own email. He even made cash deposits into his bank account. So this guy just,
He was trying to get caught.
Upset
Yeah,
101.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
This is kind of an interesting view into one of the things that the dark market has to figure out if they're going to use things other than Monero is they have to figure out a way to vet the security practices of the people operating it. Otherwise, you just have to have a better system. A lot of people, they just do their exchange and they're happy with their results or they're not and they move on. But good exchanges usually emerge for a time and then they shut down. And the best ones also don't do any kind of exit scamming. But there's a huge problem with the fact that it's very difficult to vet the people who are running the dark market exchanges. And that includes for like Fed activity too, so it's yet another reason why a parallel economy Monero ecosystem is just so much better than our current systems.
Good points.
Yes. Let's go into the next thing. This is Canada trying to implement a universal basic income of $2,000 per month. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, you will be eligible for $2,000 per month. This is pretty crazy. This will be an influx into the economy that will be highly inflationary. Yes, we all remember what happened with overstimulation during COVID times. We're now paying for all of that big time. So let's watch this video. It's just 1 minute.
Oh wait, we can't really hear it.
No? Oh.
Do you want me to pull it up and play it? Or does it let you share a tab? If you can share an individual tab?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let me do that. Okay, I'm going to have to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share my screen.
It's crazy that they're actually that close to potentially adopting UBI.
Yeah. I think this should work. 1 second. Okay.
Well, the UBI is a good close step to the downfall of any government due to the fact that they'll have to print money to do it because you can't tax in that case.
Can you guys see anything?
Let me pull it up. There we go.
Oh, you can see it?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's watch it now.
Every Canadian could receive $2,000 monthly, and this is a proposal that is currently in the Senate, and it could reach the House of Commons as early as next year. This is to fight poverty. Apparently, every single Canadian will get this credit regardless of your income if you are 17 years or older. This is pretty crazy. I hope that this doesn't fly. We all remember what happened with the CERB, the CERB, the overstimulation during COVID times. We are now paying for all of that big time. That overstimulation created more harm than any good, to be honest. And I know during COVID times we needed some help for sure. But in hindsight, now we have to learn the lesson, and this cannot happen. This will be an influx into the economy that will be highly inflationary. We don't need any of that right now. So what do you think? Do you think that every Canadian should get $2,000 monthly to fight poverty? Let me know.
It's literally a tool for making people more reliant on the state.
Yes.
Strengthening the deep state of Canada. I mean, that's literally all that's accomplished there. It's a story as old as time, right? Like what Rome do, trying to control the food supply, make the people reliant on the state.
I have kind of an interesting take on this. Real quick.
I'm sure you do. You always do.
First off, like if you think of this in terms of numbers, okay, so let's say they give it to the entire population, okay, so which is just shy of 40 million people, I believe. And then if you do some quick back of them napkin conversion in US dollar terms, that's like $750 billion a year, okay. And the Canadian deficit right now is like 40 trillion Canadian. So, I mean, you know, it's as a percentage of the Canadian debt or whatever. All right, so fair enough. That's a pretty big number, but it's actually not that big compared to the debt that they're already carrying, and they're already in deflationary death spiral that they've got going on. So there is actually a really interesting anarchist argument for this. Now, this is assuming that they're not going to use it as an excuse to put everybody on the CBDC and, you know, prevent you from donating money to Canadian truckers or whatever. We all know that's what's really going on. Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% be implemented in the CBDC. Right?
A tail emission in any fiat currency is actually the most anarchist thing you can do. Okay. And it's one of the reasons why I'm a hardcore advocate for Monero's monetary policy, is because a tail emission does something that gold can't do. It does something that all of these it's one of the best arguments for Monero is the fact that it always maintains an equilibrium. And that equilibrium will always equalize with the market forces of the entire basket of all purchased assets. So to point out, if you're doing like a massive flood of fiat into the entire population of a country, it has certain elements of a tail emission that is very pro-anarchy. Okay. Now, overall, I'm actually super opposed to this idea for a lot of reasons, especially the fact that you have this number that can just be adjusted by bureaucrats and all of that other stuff. But at least in principle, you also create there's a certain amount of capital that you could hoard in which you are fighting the tail emission that is this, you know, this liquidity injection into the general population, right? So if you have, like, let's say 2 or 3% of all of the fiat notes of a given currency, but the capital flow into the population is being adjusted for inflation at, like, you know, 3%, or, you know, what you're actually losing money against the money, if that makes sense. So it almost forces a certain amount of money to go back into actual capital assets and improves money velocity. All right. So once again, like, this is by far the worst way to do it, is to have a government just like indiscriminately setting numbers and giving it to their insiders or whatever, and only people who are on the tax rolls. I get all of that. But this idea that, what do they call it? A UBI. This idea that a UBI is like a communist idea is just fundamentally wrong. But the thing is the only way we're ever being exposed to it is through, like, almost a communist implementation. But the truth is we're constantly being exposed to it with Monero. You just have to find a way to prevent anyone from controlling the levers, right? And Monero's done a really good job of that, right? So transaction fees are an incredible way to UBI, if you will, because you do want a deflation hedge against your currency. And you also want it to set an equilibrium. UBI is probably the most effective way to do that in a fiat. The problem, and not only that, but, you know, you have your technological revolution argument, right? And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Ted Kaczynski would have actually advocated for an idea like UBI, just not in the hands of the government, right? Because it's also a hedge against automation decapitalizing the individual. Now, once again, the way that the commies are spinning this is ridiculous, right? But there is an argument to be had here. And that was one of the reasons why I wish the interview with Michael, where he would have gotten like a chance to rant about it, because the dude totally turned my mind around on this. The Michael 10 guy that you had on a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's been on.
I did a total 180 after I really thought about some of the arguments that he was making. Like, UBI as a machinery could be the most pro-anarchist thing you could do to a fiat if it weren't for the fact that it's right now it's completely Federal Reserved and, you know, capitalist banking cartel controlled as a concept right now.
Well, the decentralized version of that they're experimenting with is WorldCoin, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know. I highly doubt anything that they're claiming about that is even remotely realistic. But I'd point out that Monero does have almost a UBI, because it's the closest thing to one processor, one vote. It's the closest thing to a deflation of the currency hedge. It incentivizes money velocity, and it incentivizes people rotating in and out of capital, right? And that's why I'm saying a tail emission is super close to the general principles of a UBI. And in fact, if you were to go a step further with these same concepts, like what if, you know, you had like a Thorchain style, you know, the side chain mining that people are doing with Monero, you could turn that into something more UBI like, on top of the fact that the miners in the main mining are being rewarded, right? And I don't pretend to have it all figured out. I'm just saying it is not a strictly communist ideology, not even close. The problem is the only way we're hearing about it, and the only way that people have ever thought about the concept of a UBI, is always this top-down commie control, you know, join our Fed coin, like, let's make sure that a bunch of bureaucrats get to turn your wallets on and off and all that. But if you really look at it from just a technical point of view, and you try to look at it from an anarchy technology point of view, it could make a tremendous amount of sense. And we're already using a lot of it now, right? With the tail emission thing. But I'll quit ranting about it. I'm just saying that, like, Monero people should not just shut their brain off when they see a bunch of socialists advocating for these things. Agreed. We should look at the technology itself and think about how it could be deployed for the purposes of decentralization. And it could be one of the best tools ever if you think of it like that.
Right. But this implementation implemented by the state is obviously going to use CBDC to push it forward, and then and for purposes of controlling how people use their money, on top of making people reliant on the state for receiving the money, is definitely I don't see how that can be a step in the right direction. But I see what you're saying. If done in some theoretical fashion using cryptocurrency, then there could be some advantage there.
See, my thought would just be to take your UBI and buy, like, immediately take your UBI as soon as it's deposited and buy gold or silver or Monero. That's what I would do with it. And I think a lot of people would, because it's less inflationary than gold and silver, and Monero are less inflationary than the fiat that you're coming from.
And from a Monero marketing standpoint, there are a lot of allies to be had here, right? There are a lot of people that their heart is in the right place when it comes to UBI, and they want to see, because the truth is like, it would be more than just a baby step away from fiat Fed notes being printed into existence and being given directly to bankers at 0% interest, and then just like pillaging the rest of us, right? It's an unbelievably effective way to not only flip it on its head, but I don't know if you guys remember during the Ron Paul revolution, where Ron Paul would often say, like, I'm reframing it, but like, he would say basically, I hate Social Security and it's a horrible evil, But Social Security is at the point where you can't just shut it off and unplug the people who have grown as dependent as they are on it, because you would create a humanitarian crisis in an effort to stop stealing, right? So what you have to do is you have to do like a 3-phase system of, like, everybody needs to recognize that they're not going to get it if they don't have it, right? But people who are currently dependent on it need to be weaned off. And you see what I'm saying? It would be a step in the right direction where you could like still have some of these like banking infrastructure things that exist and basically defang them by saying, okay, we're cutting off your access to 0% loans from printed fiat Fed notes, right? But the system can continue to exist. However, you know, this UBI that's like a smart contract that piggybacks off of Monero mining or whatever is going to be distributed out into people who, you know, by the very nature of having a wallet like pegged to this distributed server or whatever. I mean, there's a million ways you could do it. These people are going to get the new money, and you're going to have to compete for that new money without your interest rate, your interest rate advantage, right? And so it's a way to wean off of the central banking system as well. Like it plays into a lot of things. And then you could even wean off the population from UBI as their primary source of income as well, once you've like stabilized the economy.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Anon Man is saying this isn't being implemented. Fake news. Yeah, I don't know what the actual likelihood of this happening in Canada is, but it seemed like it was like actually moving through the political system. All right, moving on. Unless anybody else has anything to say to that. Bawdy, I don't know if you're live right now. We have you up on stage. I don't know if you walked away.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. I've been listening the whole time.
What do you think?
Just,
yeah. Any take on this? UBI as a concept?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I can totally agree with Alaska here, but it is a perspective I haven't thought of, so I'll need to consider it. I'm kind of like, if the state wants to do something that's going to ultimately undermine them, well, you know, I mean, I guess that makes some sense. It seems weird, like they talk about UBI, but can they actually implement it? I'm not confident that they can without causing even worse problems for themselves.
My
But, you know, I don't think I have anything else, anything to add to that, really.
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep it moving.
Okay.
Fun topic to consider, though. Who knows? We might be closer than we think. Canada, they're fucking crazy in Canada. Like,
yeah.
Control. So I don't know. I think it's in the realm of possibilities.
Neighbors.
I think it's in the realm of possibilities. 2024, probably not, but we'll see.
Now, Tails. So Tails is actually accepting Monero donations. If you want to donate to Tails, you can now in Monero as well. And then Doug, you wrote, beautiful to see Monero being adopted for its intended purpose, untraceable digital cash by respective freedom tech open source projects to fund their development, boost the daily Monero transaction count, donate some Monero, grow the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
So that is very good to see.
Curious what percentage of donations they get via Monero versus other things.
I bet we can probably ask them.
Yeah, I might have even at some point.
Yeah.
Wait, what did the JD? Wait, go back for a second. That guy is such a asshole. JW Weatherman.
It's not true. This is next level open source project.
You could always rely on him.
Bitcoin Maxi, yeah.
Yeah. I had him on the show years ago.
Oh, really?
He's extreme BTC Maxi. He thinks Monero is a scam. He's always.
Well, if Monero's a scam, Bitcoin's a bigger scam.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on. So
did anyone read those 5 rules
He's like hating on Monero. He's like, it's not untraceable. And then he's got the 5 laws of Monero. It's like, this is what you must do to use Monero or to use Bitcoin without getting scammed or hacked or traced. And it's like, most people would never understand any of that.
And I mean, I would partially agree with that statement because I wouldn't necessarily myself say that Monero is untraceable, because it is through some means, sort of traceable, but it has a huge amount of plausible deniability, and it's very, very hard to trace. But it could be if people make mistakes and they're high-profile targets. When Seraphis Champions comes out and we've got the full membership proofs, that'll make Monero like insanely high in anonymity set.
Agreed. But we just confidential transactions and stealth addresses. Nobody's
compared to Bitcoin, it's untraceable.
Yeah.
You could put it that way.
Yeah, you're just being too fair. But
so this is interesting. 10 hours of Bitcoin. Well, that's a lot of material.
What is this? The latest facts? Okay.
It's a website that he has on his description.
Okay.
But I guess it goes to the economy and the actual workings. But in Monero, if you want to understand how it just works, it takes you a single sentence. You don't need to do anything, like not even 1 hour, like 10 seconds. It's private. You can just use it, send it. Oh, and it's private. I don't need to do anything. Yes. Okay. That's it.
Enough.
Is this our new segment, grilling Monero, our Bitcoin maxis?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't.
I'll take some extra barbecue sauce with that.
So this is pretty cool. Can you translate? Yeah, translate the post.
Yes. Yeah. Hello, my name is Jocelyn. Ernesto gave me this cell phone and taught me how to use Monero. We want you to help us give a cell phone to my sister, Brit, so she can use Monero as well.
So this is happening in Argentina, in Iberete, in Formosa. Escuela Bitcoin. I met him when we went to Argentina. He's actually the guy who made sure that I didn't leave Argentina without visiting Formosa. I was kind of on the fence about it because it was like a 2-hour plane ride from Buenos Aires. He's like, "No, you got to go, bro. I just came back from there." He's a Bitcoin guy. He's like a Bitcoin privacy guy, big samurai guy, but he's also a Monero guy. So he ran over to Monero town when he saw what was happening because he's in the area. He actually essentially moved there, right? So he's a cool dude. He's like, he sees Monero organically being adopted, so he went and moved to Monero town, and so he's trying to grow adoption there as well, helping out with Alessandro. We've all seen Alessandro. We've had him on the show here. He's the one that's doing the football thing over there, the soccer thing. He
joined the backstage for a second, but I guess he left already.
Oh,
I'd love to help, but how are they gonna give a girl an iPhone? I mean, have they never heard of Lineage or Calyx or Graphene or? I mean, come on, you got to teach them right. You got to.
To be fair, it's probably gold compared to whatever they were using before.
So, but my point is, you never know for sure who's doing legit things, who's not. This guy, I mean, I'm fairly certain everything he does is legitimate. So cool to see, and people want to participate in this. I think he should do like a Kuno for something like this, so people can see how much have been raised rather than just throwing an address out there. So they're actually a funding goal. Yeah. It's funny because he always made fun of me because I kept bringing up Kuno. He's like, we kind of had a joke going back and forth about that. But Escuela Bitcoin, man, start using Kuno and raising funds for these things.
Now, moving on, let's discuss Nigeria. So the title says, Nigeria's crypto ban hindered e-Naira adoption despite high global ranking. Nigerian tech and innovation legal expert Chinedu Albert and said e-Naira adoption will only happen when the government gains the trust of Nigerians. The Naira attains a more trusted status.
The Nigerians are going to be trusting. It's right around the corner. I mean, they're
coming.
Ripe and ready to trust their government real soon.
It's coming in 2024.
We had somebody on Monero Talk that was from Nigeria, and
cool.
is out there actually teaching people about Monero. Yeah, well, and one of the points he was making is that, you know, cash is not going away in Nigeria anytime soon. So like this idea that like cash is being eliminated around the world and trying to push people into CBDC, he doesn't see there being the political will to get rid of actual traditional cash there, because all the politicians use it in corrupt ways, like to pay people. Essentially, cash is used to pay people to go vote. Like,
can we just call it the Jake argument? Because I've been making that argument since the
okay.
first time we talked. I mean, the bad guys have to launder their money too, people. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but essentially they implemented a ban in 2021. Then they implemented the NYE. It wasn't really being used, and still to this day, a May 2023 report by the International Monetary Fund indicated approximately 14,000 NYE weekly transactions, representing only 1.5% of the total wallets. This implies that 98.5% of wallets go unused weekly, indicating disappointingly low adoption. Then they did lift the ban.
Can I just point out that there is a very high likelihood that those 1.5% of the total wallets are the same user using multiple wallets? Like, there is a very, very high chance that those numbers are actually like stacked in favor of the government on this one. It's probably more like 0.25.
Regardless, that's still a very disappointing number. So
it's interesting to keep your eye on. I do think this number will start to tick up as the government slowly boils the frogs and figures out ways to push people into using the CBDC.
For sure. Some countries may just incentivize, some countries may just force the population to use it. So we're gonna have to see. Africa's crypto leaders, highlights of 2023 initiatives. We have South Africa, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Ghana. They're the top 5 countries adopting Bitcoin with the most demand for digital currency and the most active local cryptocurrency communities. South Africa has made significant progress in cryptocurrency regulations, second only to Central African Republic. South Africa's regulatory initiatives include taxing cryptocurrencies since 2018 and recognizing them as digital assets. So South Africa is onto cryptocurrency. Nigeria, we discussed Nigeria. Despite a national internet penetration rate, I don't know why they use that word. Only could have used usage or any other one. So 40% of the population essentially of Nigeria has access to internet, and they also used to have a ban on banks from dealing in cryptocurrency. But they still are among the world's leaders in crypto adoption. It is second on the global crypto adoption index behind only India. So we talked about Nigeria extensively. Then we have Kenya, which now taxes crypto and monetizes online content. So the adoption of cryptocurrency has gained traction in Kenya as well.
I'm gonna have somebody this week who I think he's located in Kenya. He's gonna be on Monero Talk. So
cool.
Insight into that, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Then we have Central African Republic. They also made significant progress in cryptocurrency regulation, making it one of the most active in crypto innovation. In the spring of 2022, the CAR, which is Central African Republic, became the first African country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, which was interesting. But this was short-lived as the government began its crypto token project, Sango Coin, days after the Bitcoin law was enacted. And I think lastly, yes, we have Ghana, which has quietly emerged as a noteworthy player in the cryptocurrency space with minimal government or central bank interference. Ghana has embraced cryptocurrencies without significant regulatory hurdles. So we'll see what's going to happen in 2024 with Africa and crypto, and not only.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, a couple more.
Okay.
Arthur Hayes says TradFi traditional finance could completely destroy Bitcoin with spot ETFs. Here's why. So in a new essay, the crypto veteran says that if ETFs managed by TradFi asset managers are too successful, they will completely destroy Bitcoin. Essentially, he talks about mining and the reward system, and how with block rewards gradually dropping until they hit zero in the year 2140, Hayes notes that miners will only receive Bitcoin income via fees if the network is used for transactions. However, if institutions are simply hoarding most of the coins in cold storage to back their ETFs, Hayes says there won't be enough Bitcoin movement to generate fees and secure the blockchain, which a lot of people from the Monero community thinks about, and that's why we like Monero so much.
He says BlackRock, the world's largest TradFi asset managers in the asset accumulation game, they vacuum up assets, store them in a metaphorical vault, issue a tradable security, and charge a management fee for their hard work. Yeah, I mean, this guy, this guy's he's on top of it. Arthur Hayes, so he's been saying this forever. This is an new article, or is this an old article?
New, December 24th. Yeah.
We shall see. I don't know. I mean, Alaska now, what do you think of this theory with regards to the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF? Is it problematic for Bitcoin?
For one, there is effectively a Bitcoin ETF, MicroStrategies, which I think Body's been saying that for what, like 3 years now. So, and the fact that the fact that there are people who are saying that this Bitcoin ETF is going to be like this game changer. In fact, it's not the only Bitcoin ETF. There's actually another one already too that's even more more of an ETF than MicroStrategies, right? And I personally, because I have a perpetual tinfoil hat underneath this wig I'm wearing or whatever, but personally, I think that this is just a pump and dump, like verbal diarrhea that the powers that be are using, knowing that everybody's going to eat it up, right? And I think that actually this pump and dump plays into a lot of the other things that we see, right? So I don't think that they're doing it based entirely around Monero, but I think that it plays into it. The fact that, for the longest time, Monero was being shorted, naked shorted. And what you can do is you can pump the price against Bitcoin by pumping Bitcoin that you actually hold. And then you can even atomic swap or whatever into Monero and use it to cover your naked shorts. And then you're also simultaneously out of Bitcoin as you let the price collapse. Like, that's just one small example of why they would, there's an ETF coming, and then use the regulators that they own and control, like to, we can't do this now, and let the price collapse and be like, but we're thinking about it in 5 days. And then it pumps again. And then, we just, regulation this and that. And then it goes back down. Honestly, like, people in our space, what we can do about this right now is we have to stop playing the game of price discovery being set by the people who have the loudest microphone, right? So, for example, I see people all the time looking up the local Monero price in aggregate, which is always more accurate. And by the way, it's usually low compared to the price up here in Alaska, right? Like, I mean, you would be smoking crack if you thought you could get Monero for less than $230 in Alaska, right? And nobody thinks that way up here. Or another thing is, like, nobody actually believes that the gold spot price is what you get gold for on the street, right? And yet we allow these people to play these games because you can buy and sell it on your digital casino using your Robinhood app that has been shown over and over again to be under the thumb of their financiers, right? We have to get away from this idea that the news is allowed to pump and dump by manipulating a bunch of AI-generated algorithm bot buy sell. It's all so fake, right? And when you see people like BlackRock, right, that all they do is they just like benefit off of people paying fees and riding out these price pump and dumps using their media aggregators, and then they use other people's money to control us, right? Like, we're only going to give you money if you're ESG compliant and so on. That's not even their money, and they're using it to control you. They're using it to govern you. And part of the reason they can do that is because people like us keep listening to these price pump and dump things that come from bot generated news articles. And then a guy who writes for the Daily Hodl is like citing them as sources, right? So real people are citing fake bullshit as a source to sound credible. It's so backwards, right? If you actually go out into the real world and you buy Monero or Bitcoin, you pay a totally different price. Its availability is a totally different reality, right? And then people actually use it, right? It's like, what are people gonna do if you have this ETF that's just like holding Bitcoin? It doesn't go anywhere, right? It doesn't reflect the actual value of anything, right? But you know, you got those Bitcoin maxis just like busting out the Jergens so they can talk more about how the price number go up to the moon, bro, to the moon. And it's like, well, go use it right now. If you want to actually like pump the price of some Bitcoin, go get somebody to take it for goods and services.
Do you agree with Arthur's prediction that this will lead to, you know, just a few ETFs, whatever, holding the vast majority of Bitcoin, and then they have no incentive to use it, and because of that, miners stop mining, and the whole Bitcoin network comes to like a. You know,
I agree with everything up until kind of
basically
the last
proposing
part.
it. Well, yeah.
Like I don't necessarily see the connection to the miner part. Because there's some other self-regulating things that go on between like the value of Bitcoin and mining. And so, but I do see, you know, on the interview that you had, which I didn't.
He's saying the coins won't be moving, so there won't be any transaction fees. Miners.
Well, I mean, that is true, but you also have to look at
the network difficulty will drop until there's an incentive to mine again.
So there's that, which, you know, is one thing, but the other thing is even though it is it's not proof of stake, it's proof of work, right? As far as like whether or not something is going to be adopted or whatever. If you consolidate a lot of Bitcoin into a few ETFs, that like just the act of moving the keys from one ETF to another, like they could fire up their miners ahead of time and then like make the move or make the switch, or there's all kinds of ways that you can mitigate that. But the consolidation part is the part that should be freaking people out in the Bitcoin space, because on the one hand you want on ramps and you want liquidity, but on the other hand, if you consolidate all of these, all of the Bitcoin and all of the keys into a tiny handful of ETFs, what happens to, what do they call it? The determination dust amount or whatever. There's a word for it, but basically, like, if your E-note is a certain size, it basically disappears, right? And so, like, that's the real hazard here. Right, is the pumpers are so delusional if they think this is good for their currency. It's like, and then on top of that, like, what happens to Lightning adoption and all of this? Like, the consolidation part is horrifying from a technological perspective, is what I'm getting at. And I mean, this rant could take like 200 hours if I kept going, but just the idea that the people who can print money into existence can accumulate Bitcoin at any price and then control the value of mining operations by the mere act of moving from one ETF to another. Okay. Like, at what point have you totally taken control of the mining algorithm if you can control the price of the mining by just moving the sats that you have around at targeted points? Like, you could crash the value of all of the mining rigs by just hoarding it and using only layer 2, right? And then buy up all of the mining rigs for pennies on the dollar. You could even buy them in your exploding Bitcoin price, right? And then take all of those miners, turn them on, and move your Bitcoin, and basically transaction fee back all of your money. Or there's so many ways that this whole thing can be manipulated with the ETF scam thing. And of course, like all of these tech bros have no idea how the fiat world has literally taken over their precious coin, because they're just looking, number go up, man, number go up. And they're like eking their way towards the termination line, like the dust line or whatever. I forget what it's called, but like they're slow creeping their way into all of their notes having zero value, because the price to transact their minuscule sat count that's distributed into 15 different UTXOs, it's literally worthless now.
I think the more general, so Arthur Hayes is pointing at a more general reality without really saying it overtly. And that is, small blocks encourage the centralization of supply, because why would you want to try and use it on chain when it costs so much? So it's not just the ETFs, it's the exchanges, it's the entire cabal. Bitcoin supply is already heavily centralized anyways, but I think the small blocks, keeping blocks small and having no other realistic way of scaling, because Lightning is not realistic at the moment, not without larger blocks. And CTV is still a twinkle in a few people's eye at the moment. I'm not sure it'll actually come to fruition. But yeah, the more general point is that small blocks encourage exactly this behavior. I'm not convinced that necessarily what Arthur's saying here will become the fate of Bitcoin. It really depends. Like, if the cabal is getting their hands onto Bitcoin and they really intend to put it at the forefront, that sounds a lot to me like a fake libertarian or marginal libertarian presidential candidate that gives a little bit of lip service to some freedom stuff, but doesn't actually do anything. And I feel like that's what they want to turn Bitcoin into. It's like, oh yeah, this is the freedom money. This is what people that care about liberty use. And then meanwhile, they've integrated it into the entire economic system, and they keep the price high, right? Because it's like the stock market. You need to keep that price high. You need to keep the focus there. That's the thing that says how good the economy is. So they can use Bitcoin as like this sort of Trojan horse against actually doing real freedom money and actually having a way of transacting outside the system. So I would tend to think that they would, hypothetically, but it's just one vector of looking at it. But I don't think that necessarily they would need to crash the price. I don't think that they would have any interest in necessarily crashing Bitcoin, as long as they can keep people in that ETF and they can keep people on custodial scaling solutions and or liquid, especially since a lot of the exchanges are now starting to come under the thumb of the government, of the SEC, of DOJ. All of those exchanges that permit your withdrawal from the liquid sidechain, there's I think 12 of them. And so we're talking Bitfinex. I'm pretty sure Binance is one of them. I can't remember if Kraken is on there or if it's like their parent company, Payword Ltd. But anyways, so yeah, I'm not convinced that Arthur Hayes is really nailing the game theory of what's going to happen to Bitcoin mining. But I think he is kind of making a more general point that, we can expect centralized solutions to continue for as long as Bitcoin is unable to scale.
We could call it AstroTurf coin now. Bitcoin is now AstroTurf coin.
An NFT.
Okay.
All righty.
We have 3 more, and then that's it for the news section. So
everybody's 2024 predictions. Once again, anybody that wants to jump up, please do. Tux, if you could put the link in there again. Is Tux still around? Did Tux abandon us? No, he's still here. Okay. Anybody that wants to jump up, M. Chu, I see you asking some good questions. Sounds like you're new to Monero. Jump up on stage. We'll put the link there. You're asking about KYC Bitcoin. Feel free to jump up. Go ahead, Tony.
Mm-hmm. This one's Crypto for the Homeless. 2023 was amazing. Check it out. Basically, if you go to Crypto for Homeless, for the homeless, you can donate to homeless people in Monero, which is really cool. And essentially donate, and volunteers will buy and hand out food and provide the proof as well. And then Yeah, they also post the pictures. So it's really cool.
That's
And they've
cool.
been
I think it's
operating
been going
for
on for a long time, right? This project.
5 years.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's a cool project. MoneroKon, make sure that you go and contribute to the crowdfunding campaign.
Okay. They're still raising.
Yeah, so that's still raising money. And then the last thing, which this is a huge topic.
I pissed off the entire Thorchain community. It came out a little strong, but it's true. It's true. The fact is, Monero is not on Thorchain. It's a quote unquote DEX. Why don't they have Monero? It's the one coin that makes the most sense to cater to. It's like it's like why we need a DEX in the first place. And
I thought it was kind of interesting to see you poke the hornet's nest a little harder than you usually do, Doug. That was, you're usually a little more soft spoken than,
I was just speaking from the heart. I don't know. Right? I mean, you guys were there. We witnessed it. We saw them balk at adding Monero. They debated it. It was going to happen. The fact that they couldn't overcome the technical hurdles, they certainly can overcome it. It was, and that wasn't what was being discussed at the time. It wasn't just that. It was there were people in the community, voices in the Thorchain community that their cost benefit analysis was that it was not worth trying to take the risk of adding Monero because it's, it may make Thorchain a target, whatnot. They rather focus on number go up. They rather focus on number go up straight up. And while I think they realized that Monero would probably one of the most used, they didn't, at the end of the day, they didn't want to put themselves in the bullseye of the state and regulators. Right? Am I wrong about that? That's how I remember going down. I don't know. Alaska now. Were you paying attention to those developments?
Oh, I remember. I remember. I'm gonna keep from blowing my top on this one because oh man, does this one get me heated? But just the two-faced, like it's one thing if Thorchain is like, no, we're gonna try to be more like middle of the road. We just don't want it to. But just the way that they totally like two-faced for their own relevance, right? Like just to stay like cool with the people that they totally fucking burned. Like it was only like 6 months ago. Do they think that we got like goldfish memory going on? It's like, no, we totally remember. Do not like, I would have never gotten mad if they would have just been straight up about like what they said 6 months ago and now like, oh yeah, I mean it's super great and Thorchain's gonna do that one day. Bullshit. We remember. Like I'll shut up now because I'm
Farm remembers.
all kinds of worked up.
Yeah, we remember. We were trying to we had them involved in the first Monerotopia conference, and at that time it was like it really felt like it was going to happen, and we had Haven that was present there because the idea was that the Haven devs were involved in this, and if they could figure out how to add Haven, they could figure out how to add Monero or vice versa. But yeah, never happened. Never happened.
No, I don't know. It's worse than that. The Haven dev guy, because it's pretty much one guy, right? Put a ton of work, into making it possible. Like he did all the heavy lifting and everything. In fact, it was part of the conference. Like, I don't know if you remember during the conference when the Haveno guy.
Yes.
Right. The Haveno guy put like a ton of work into trying to be super integratable and all of this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's literally only one thing that Thorchain can do to redeem itself, and it's just to shut the hell up and integrate Monero and don't say a fucking word. It's like that is literally the only way that they're going to redeem themselves after a total, like, I mean, the hypocrisy was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
When what they just said there. But the thing is like, sorry, bro, your number go up strategy just left you in the dust. Sarai, Haveno, all of these other things are going to leave you in the dust, make you completely irrelevant, because either people are going to go the centralized exchanges route and use their AstroTurf coin, or they're going to go the real economy route, and you're going to be irrelevant. Like, that's just all there is to it. Like, nobody cares anymore. Integrate Monero or go away.
If I remember correctly, they kept getting compromised. Like, I don't think they've had any significant compromises in the last year, but I haven't really been paying attention to them. But I remember like Thorchain kept having like these weird bugs and compromises.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah, and that's look what Gonbat Fire just said about like what's the point of censorship resistance if they just self-censor? It's like they made themselves useless. Like the minute that they started like bending the knee, it's like, oh well, you just devalued yourself 100% by bending the knee. So who cares?
What surprised me about their decision to go in that direction is I thought Eric Voorhees was a big part of the project, at least at the impetus. So I'm just surprised because he, you know, he's always kind of walk the walk, not just talk the talk. I feel like in terms of, although I guess Monero was delisted from that instant exchange that he used to run. I don't know. I'm just surprised that with him as part of the project, he didn't really instill more of a like a cypherpunk ethos there. But hey, number go up.
Yeah.
Hey, can I bust in?
Yeah,
of course.
Hey guys, Drunk Dial Me here.
Long time.
One thing that came up that seems like it was kind of a big story that no one has mentioned yet, I don't think, is that Science Magazine released a study they did of Salvadorians rejecting Bitcoin over privacy concerns.
Oh,
and how adoption is just tanked. I tweeted it. You can find it in my thread, but I can't switch screens or I'll drop the call here. So if anyone wants to look at that article, they've got measurements of who adopted it, who tried it, who continued trying it, and it's just tanking. So real,
no, I can see that. I'm not surprised by that, but what surprises me is you're saying the reasoning is because of privacy. I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
I was too, but you know, they released a study, so
wow,
Science Magazine. I don't think they have a dog in the fight necessarily, but yeah, they prefer. I think that's the market saying they're using cash. That's their preference, and I think that's the market saying we prefer fungibility and privacy. So,
you know, one thing I'd point out is in El Salvador, people who have means and money are much more concerned about their privacy because they don't want other people to know they have money. Like for security reasons and safety reasons, like you have to be very careful. If people know that you have access to a large amount of funds, it puts your life at risk and the life of your family at risk. So they're ahead of the curve on that one.
That is for sure the truth. Drunk Dial Me, DM me that if you don't mind when you get a chance. Maybe I can.
I'll send it in the private chat.
Yeah, it's one of my more recent tweets.
How's it go, man? Yeah,
good.
Oh wait, sorry, that's the wrong one. That's not.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
Tony, did we finish the news?
Actually, we just got one more from Tux, and this one is
actually that's the wrong one. Here's the right one. That was a different.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put that one up if you want. It's unrelated. There you go. I just sent the right one.
Oh, okay.
It's Drunk Dial Me's tweet with a quote retweet for the Science Magazine tweet.
You know, Tux, I realized we didn't play the special guest segment because we didn't have a special guest. We should probably roll that so we could get Cake up there.
That's right. We got to get Cake up there.
All That's right. What I said at the beginning. Nobody reads.
Well, Sunita did. She mentioned the sponsors, but
we'll make Drunk Dial Me to be our special guest today. So we'll roll
they generally don't read the chats.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Got to do that out of respect for Cake Wallet. They've done so much to help this show. So yeah, Drunk Dial Me, you're our official special guest today.
It was great hearing Sunita's voice today, by the way.
Dude, so what is your 2024 prediction for Monero, if you don't mind? Price wise and just adoption wise, what are your thoughts? What's 2024 going to look like for Monero?
To be honest, with the elections, I feel like my crystal ball is just totally broken. Next year is going to be so fucking crazy. I'm actually pulling money out of 401ks and just trying to get the hell out of anything that can be seized and collapse. There's a guy who just there's a guy everyone should check out. He released a video on YouTube, and he has a series of like a downloadable book. But just watch the YouTube video. He talks about how basically every financial asset has people who are in line before all other creditors, and how they can use your financial instruments as collateral. It's called the Great Taking, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a play on the Great Reset, but it's called the Great Taking. I forget the guy's name, but I was listening to that and stuff just clicked together. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it's basically a lot of how the 2008 great financial crisis went down, only on steroids. So it's all very vulnerable. I don't know. I just want to have.
You're saying the importance of unconfiscatable assets is going to rise.
Yeah. I basically just want to be in Monero and gold backs as far as any liquid cash. I don't want to have anything in the stock market personally. That's just because I don't know it. If you feel comfortable in that environment, go for it. But I don't.
For fun, would you like to make a prediction on Monero's price 2024?
I think we're going to break all-time highs. That's about as far as I could guess.
All right. Oh, I had a fun idea we can do. I was thinking, Tux, maybe tell me if you think we could pull this off right now. If you think it's a good idea. If we posted a Monero address and people can send transactions guessing what they think the high will be for Monero in 2024 with like so they'll send like 0.00 and then whatever they think the number will be for Monero's high price, and then we'll award the winner next year. It would have to be based on, I guess, the transaction ID. That could be fun. What do you think?
I think you should have considered that a week ago.
Yeah,
so you can get it prepared.
Can we just post a wallet
right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, let me.
So how could it work? So it'd be like 0.00 and then whatever your number is, your guess.
So like if your guess is $200, you'd be like 0.000200.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be point.
Or just two. Yeah, 0.002. If you want to guess 256, would be.
So I guess you'd be capped at 1,000, right? Unless you want to pay the extra to go 0.01, start to go into the thousands. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if that makes sense, this could be fun.
I'm for it. Yeah.
Set it up right now.
Tux, if you get it up. So drunk dial me. What was your number? What were you saying?
I think I would maybe go with 320.
All right. So yeah, you would do 0.00320. That's a good guess. Good guess. Bawdy, what is yours, man?
I guess I'll say 321 then, just to be fair.
Price is right. I knew it.
Bobby.
Wait, I think it's going to be 8.75% the price of gold. No matter what the dollar's worth, it's going to hold its value against gold. And I think that's going to start basically once the crypto exchanges die. I think that Monero's price is going to be pegged to gold, but I think it's going to have kind of that volatility aspect that silver has, where gold will lead and Monero will follow. And I think that Monero will probably spike above gold and then kind of like go back down to its relative price in gold. And I think that's going to start probably Q4 of next year. It will be like an established pattern that people will be able to bet on.
Oh, I do have interesting news about goldbacks after everyone makes their predictions.
Okay.
Did any of you see that gold ATM?
No.
That was the news.
Was that it?
Goldback ATM?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was it.
Tell us, Drunk Dial Me.
Yeah.
What's the info?
They did the same thing that I was telling you during the interview that we did.
Yeah,
which is awesome. Now I don't have to do it. I'm like super stoked.
Can we use
There's a Twitter account called I think at Gold ATM or ATM Gold. I think it's at Gold ATM, but they have a legit stand-up ATM that dispenses goldbacks. I've actually made inquiries into them about how to buy one. Seems like they're more interested in leasing or leasing to merchants. But I wanted to basically trail behind farmers markets and just have a gold ATM follow these crowds at farmers markets, because that's the exact demographic that's into all that alternative stuff. Like, they're worried about pesticides and organic food and supporting local and all that. If you hooked up one of these things on a trailer and just had it trail along farmers markets, and you could hack it so that it also sells Monero and exchanges goldbacks for Monero, I think it would be a really great business model.
Is there any thought that are they adding crypto to it, or is it right now it's just cash for goldbacks?
I think it's just cash, but I've been reaching out to them trying to buy one, and I haven't gotten a call back from their salespeople.
Actually, the hard part, like from that point, the Monero part is actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
Now, what are the? Yeah, so I guess are they? Is no KYC? I mean, how are they doing this?
As far as I know, you can just use a debit card or put cash in it and get goldbacks back. But the interesting
KYC.
Yeah, if there were ever KYC concerns or wire transmitter, whatever, if you put Monero on this thing, you could make it so that you could only buy Monero or exchange Monero for goldbacks, and then you totally eliminate the USD problem. And I think it would probably, I guess the machine, it could still be a wire transmitter since it's also like you still use dollars on it. But this is a huge step. If someone can figure out what components they're using on the inside, we could also have Monero goldback ATMs, which I think there's value in that. But I think trailing farmers markets with these things, that's the exact demographic who would be really fascinated with them and use them in a little local circular economy with local farmers. So everyone check that out.
Just so you know, Drunk Family, we literally do that 7 months out of the year up here, like without the ATM. But there's an actual booth at the farmers market for like exchanging goldbacks, Monero, and food and USD. And the problem has always been the shortage of Monero. Like you always run out of Monero. Like Doug will tell you, I went down to Monerotopia in Mexico hoping to come back with like a lot of Monero, and I brought all kinds of cash and all kinds of silver and gold and everything, trying to swap it for Monero, and I was even offering a really good price. I still couldn't come back with nearly enough Monero because there's just not enough up here. People will not use exchanges up here. They will not put their information on the internet. They're just, they wouldn't do it at gunpoint.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we'll definitely keep our eye on that. That's super cool. Are the goldbacks people associated with this, or it's like another company that just did this on their own?
I think it's a company that did it on its own. I don't see a whole lot of crossover between other accounts. I didn't see an official announcement from Goldback themselves. I might have just missed it though. But I think they're just doing it on their own.
Always bringing good info. Drunk Dial Me. So wait, Drunk Dial, what do you think the low could be? So your prediction for high is like 320. What do you think the low could be? Especially we're seeing this Binance delisting. If we think things might go south for a little bit, I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. But what's your low prediction for 2024?
If we win as low as 140, I think we're going to start seeing a real stable price. It's going to organically just go up. And once it goes past its all-time high, I think that might have a psychological effect of it kind of running away.
All right.
Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think we're going to be... I think all-time lows are in our rearview mirror.
Bawdy, what's your low?
I'd probably go as low as 110. The standard deviation bands currently sit at about 120. And if there was like some big washout or demand destroying event, you know, a 2020 kind of crash, Monero would take a temporary dip with everything else. But I don't imagine that would last very long, especially if the exchanges have largely delisted. So, and looking at the chart more here, I'm actually really surprised. Drunk Dial Me, 320 is like spot on where I would probably have put my guess. Maybe I would say like 290, somewhere between like 290 and maybe like 350 would have been my guess. So 320 is like, I was joking about 321, but I think I'm going to keep that one. Or maybe I should go 329. I don't know.
I had the same thing. I had 306, but then you have to adjust it for inflation. So I was like thinking 317. So like we're all like right on the nuts. Like,
what are you saying for potential low, Alaskanon?
it'll be 1 XMR. Well, I mean, low when? Like
The
low
right
in
answer.
December, low in June,
2024, like the low
entire year.
Yeah,
probably
what about more than
125.
All right, Doug. Do we want to do the game?
Yeah, we can do it.
We should do it.
Yeah. So, what does it make sense? I guess if we, so how are we gonna figure out the winner, or like, so all we need is transaction ID, right? We'll be able to see, and then they can come claim.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. If you could put up the QR code.
I've got the live mode turned on, so it'll show stuff as they come in.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. Nice.
Oh, one more thing that I'm kind of excited about, I was thinking about today, is if Monerotopia is down in Argentina, it's going to be in Buenos Aires, right? Not in Formosa?
Yes.
Okay. If enough people make a special effort to go up to Formosa, and they spent money there, you know, they booked a hotel with Monero and just did everything they possibly could and just had a good time and met everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All that extra Monero going into that town will add liquidity, so it'll actually be more useful. Because I think, I know they have gambling, and that's probably got them a little flush with Monero, but it seems like if they had more, it would help their little parallel economy grow and flourish. So it's just kind of something that crossed my mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the we'll certainly try to offer that as an option, right? Like, we want the finals to be when Monerotopia is taking place, so maybe like right before or right after. And if people want to, as an excursion, head to Iberete to watch the finals. But it's, you know, it's a real trip. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. It's out there in the country. Like, I think I was like the first guy from the US to be in Iberete.
Well, maybe
so in terms of practicalities, but it'd be amazing if people go, and it'll be a beautiful thing, and they'll get treated very well, and it'll be beautiful, and people will have an amazing time. The other point to make, though, too, is my hope is the games themselves are going to bring more Monero into the ecosystem over there, right? So the three top teams are going to win a Monero prize, and those are going to be all teams from the local area. So they're gonna come home with Monero, and then I'm thinking of trying to figure out other ways that as people watch from home, they'll be able to interact with Monero and perhaps bring Monero into the local economy there. But
maybe Maybe the Moneroristas can all charter a private jet through Tap Jets and fly up there and come back.
Maybe a bus. You could do that too. The bus is like 12 hours, but it'd probably be pretty cheap.
Well, if you charter a jet for a big group of people, I don't think it necessarily costs a lot.
I was going to bring it up after the show, but you do a party bus. Everybody goes to Buenos Aires on a certain day. You rent out a party bus.
Mm-hmm.
All the Monero people ride up on a party bus. You know,
well, I was thinking too. I was trying to get a bus where the teams can come down to Monerotopia, right? So like a bus from EPI down to.
You fill a bus with a bunch of Monero people and a bunch of.
No, well, that would be the bus going back. But I'm saying we could bring people down to the conference, right? So that's a thought as well. So
party bus, love it.
So I'll throw down for the party bus. Not for the bus, but the stuff that we put on the bus to make it the party. You know. All right, fine. I'll put in for the bus too.
Same.
All right, I'm sending my prediction.
Okay, so how does this game work? We're submitting the prediction in XMR as what?
Your prediction of the Monero high for 2024. So if you think Monero's
1,000th place, so 0.00, then your number.
Right. So you think it's going to hit $370? So it'd be
no. I think we need to spice this up a little bit, because if you're betting that the price is high and it does go high, you get more. If you're betting that the price is low, then you know you're positioning. I think it should be like the first place after the decimal is like the 100.
Nah, nobody's gonna fucking gamble.
Yeah, no one's gonna. So
I'm not saying we're gambling. I'm just saying there's a big pool of Monero, and then the person who gets closest gets all of the Monero.
Well, that's already what we're gonna do, right? The person who gets the closest is just gonna get all of it, but it's gonna be a much smaller amount.
If you want to predict that Monero is going to hit $3,000, then you'd be 0.03, right? You have to pay more to predict higher.
Yeah, but I was thinking that the thousands place should be like the 1 XMR level. Let's do it. Let's go big or go home.
Have people sent already? Has anybody sent? All right, I'm going to send.
We're not going big.
I'm syncing still. I only brought my normie phone, so I have to sync for like 3 weeks. It's not my Monero phone.
All right, I sent one.
Hey, Doug, I did have an idea for a show guest. I don't know if you've done a guest like this before, but the prediction markets, decentralized betting markets, essentially. I think the Monero community needs to talk about how to not publicize the idea of assassination markets, putting prices on people like WF people's heads, because that'd be really bad if we if that got popular. And we should have a discussion of how we can prevent anyone from discussing that idea.
Oh my!
Yeah, we have to go into excruciating detail about how it would work and why we should not do that.
It'd be irresponsible for us to not.
Yeah.
Put that information out there as a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How to suppress the information, essentially. Like, no one should be working on a decentralized betting platform from Monero right now. That'd be bad.
Mm-hmm.
What are the popular betting platforms that exist for Monero right now? I know we had somebody on back in the day. I don't know if whatever happened, if it ever went anywhere. I'm curious to see with Copa Monero if some side betting thing pops up for people to gamble on local games.
So I'm actually not going to predict the high or low price. I generally prefer to use the averages, and I'm just going to cope for inflation and say that the average Monero price at the end of 2024 is going to be $174 US, and the low is going to be 153 average.
Okay.
150 average, low, and 174 average for the actual average. Because what I've seen from the charts is that Monero likes to hold within 12% of the like long-term 200-day average. It seems to enjoy holding about 12%. So therefore, 12% above 10% to 12% above what we're at now would put it at roughly 174, 175 because we're at 158 average. And then 12% down from 174 is like 153.
Okay.
For some reason, that merchant page wasn't showing up the transactions. So here they are. We got a few.
What's that page? What was that you were using?
It was a merchant page, a merchant mode page, enabled the sales tracker. Oh, there they are. It just took a while. There we go.
Okay, so
yeah, that view's better. All right, so go back to that view.
Is the final verdict that, like, other than in the case of shortwave, are we betting on the high for the year? Are we betting on the closing?
We're betting on the high for 2024. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a winner, closest person
right now.
All.
Somebody guessed 1,000. Somebody guessed $750. Somebody guessed 625. That was me. I guess 625. Somebody guessed 238. Yeah, put the QR code back up. People at home playing the game. You know, it only cost. I sent 625, and then the costed me $1. So this is fun. This is fun. Shortwave, send your guess in. I know you want to do average, but for this, try to guess the high.
All right, hold up.
Tony, what's your guess?
So I'm not as versed as predicting prices as Bawdy, but I did like what he said. So I believe that probably the lowest is going to be maybe like 120, and then I don't think it's going to go too high next year. So between 280 and I was going to say 300. So that's going to be my number. But it's going to be interesting because next year is going to be Bitcoin's halving. It's going to be 2024. So I wonder how that's going to affect everything.
Got a 420. Very nice.
That's a good point. The halving. Oh, you know what? Tux, copy and paste the address and post it in the comments. So people want to send that way. So if you can't access this QR code for whatever reason, or you're just listening. So this is the address. If you send Monero to that address with the guess of what you think Monero's high price will be for the year, and you get the closest, you will win everything in the pot. Guess by putting 0.00 and whatever the number is you think. Unless, of course, you're going to the thousands, right? So if you think Monero's going to hit $1,000, you put 0.01. If you think it's going to hit $250, 0.00250 and send to that address.
What if someone has a lot of money and then they're going to put the actual price in Monero, say they think it's going to be 320, they're going to put 320 Moneros.
Yeah, you'll make the more fun. The pot will be larger. You probably won't win, though. Yeah, guys. Any other just like general predictions for 2024 with regards to Monero? I mean, obviously we're going to see Binance delist, right? That seems like that's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, you guys didn't mention the OKX delisting on Friday that occurred just yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't really been following that. So what happened with that? Tell us.
They just basically said that, like, I just saw an article yesterday that said OKX is going to delist thanks to regulatory pressure. So when you guys were talking about the Binance delisting, I'm like, I haven't heard anything about that, but I heard about OKX, so I was confused there for a little bit.
Oh yeah, they blanket delisted all privacy coins, didn't they? Just straight up.
Yeah,
and that happened.
And I sent in my prediction.
All right, I see people guessing 385.
Oh wow, okay, we got a lot coming in here.
520. All right, this is sick. This is awesome.
385 was me.
Everybody's guessing pretty high. That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we're bullish.
Or are we betting that the dollar is going to be dirt?
Or that too, yeah. Wow, thanks for this Monero, guys. I'll see y'all later.
My transaction is still pending. My guess is 250.
250, okay.
Somebody $3,333.
Wow.
So, Jesus! Oh my god!
I think that would be a hell of a 2024, right?
Monero.
Well, the guy who, if his guess is correct, then he's gonna make a killing on this bet. You see what that was what I was saying about the go big or go home, because I want to both be right and get.
You were definitely the point. What did you do? You did 0.01 Alaskan, didn't you?
No, I did 385.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to bet higher, but I also wanted to be right, so I went with 385. So.
But if I just let Sybil attack the betting pool and just guessed like everything?
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Price for it. You'd have to pay a higher price for it, but you'd increase your chances to win.
Yeah, just you can't technically. There's no way of me preventing you from putting other votes
one above and one below. It's just like find everyone that's not you and just bet one above and one below, like the whole way down. And then somebody could do that to you, and then you could do it to them, and then they could do it. And the next thing you know, that you're just like, and then somebody ends up being right on the nuts, and both of you get taken for a ride. Like,
yeah, it's a pretty good foolproof system. I mean, right? Yeah, if you want to try to game it, you're just gonna raise the pot. Go for it.
Yeah,
raise the pot.
Hey, Tux,
actually, I'm thinking about picking some people that are close to my number.
Yeah, I can post the view.
Are you gonna post the view key? Yeah, that way we can all see. And then you're gonna get this game where everyone like keeps trying to okay, someone posts let's say 300 and then someone tries 301 and 299, and then Alaska comes along and he's like 298 and 302.
Yeah.
The close time will be
close time though, for sure. Like it's because otherwise you could game the system unfairly by betting in like December, especially if the high was already like if the high just like if it exploded to like 1,000 and then went back down, it's like, well, you already know what the right number is at that point, right? So but I have another prediction for Monero. I think that Monero is going to grow in popularity in things like the Freedom Cell movement and the food freedom movement. In fact, I think that it's going to start, as far as the United States goes, I think it's going to start in Maine, which is odd because I used to think it was going to be a New Hampshire thing, but I think it's actually going to start in Maine, where you're going to see people starting to offer like serious discounts at farmers markets and stuff like that, where they're going to try to get their enclosed food systems denominated in Monero. And I think the only reason it's not going to be Alaska is because nobody wants to let go of their Monero. It's like way too hodl up here. But I think in places like that. And then another thing that I think you're going to see is you're going to have the same way that foreigners from like China are going to get their wealth out in Monero. I think you're going to see that happening in the United States. I think as California and New York get more aggressive in trying to claw back their tax revenue from like expats, I think that you're going to see people in New York, California, Washington, they're going to start to like basically hide their wealth in Monero. And then that's going to provide them a further incentive to buy and sell in Monero to keep that hidden. So you're going to see a spike in people using things like coin cards with Monero in order to hide their purchases from tax regimes in states that have that as a problem. But I think it's going to be hard to spot until the volume gets so high that serious white paper research is done into figuring out where the money went. So even though it'll happen in 2024, I think you won't find out about it until like 2026. But people in the Monero community will be wise to it ahead of time, because we'll see our transaction volumes ballooning in the form of a bunch of small sales from places like coin cards or other ideas. Hopefully XMR Bazaar will be popular enough where people will see that happen. And I also think there's going to be a lot of money to be had.
Is Elizabeth Warren will mention XMRbazaar.com by name.
I can't remember.
Hope, right?
Will she mention Monero by name this year? What do you guys think? Or who do you think will be some of the bigger names that maybe mention Monero in 2024?
I think these people are scripted to not say XMR. I think that they're literally being pushed not to name names of working cryptos. And I think that the evidence for that is pretty strong at this point, that they literally like avoid it like the plague to actually say Monero or XMR. They're being told not to use those words.
What are we supposed to do when we've got two that are the exact same amount?
Let's split the prize.
Divide the pot between them.
420.
Hey, Alaskan,
2 420s.
The pot.
That'd be amazing if Monero's high price was 420 again. Wasn't that like the high price like a couple of years ago? It was 420 exactly.
Hey, Alaskan.
Oh, did he?
20.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh, have you ever heard of a project called Cell 411? CELL 411.
Yeah, it rings a bell, but I can't remember what it does.
Yes, Captain Kickass from Free Talk Live. Yep.
Yeah. So
the other person, but yeah.
Mr. Nobody. Yeah, Mr. Nobody is. Mr. Nobody's developing that. I'm in one of the Matrix channels. I've donated some money towards it, but you were talking about funding open source projects. It's not Monero related specifically, but it is Freedom Cell related. It's basically an app where you can call up your homies if you have a roadside accident, like, oh, my car broke down, I'm on the side of the highway, or hit the emergency alert button, and it'll start recording in case there's someone following you. So it's basically a way to call people in your neighborhood rather than cops. So it's handy in places.
Yeah, it's basically Cop Watch, the Cop Watch app, but for emergencies. I remember now.
Yeah. Is there a way? Can I reach out to you about potentially ways to fund that, like you were saying on the previous show?
Oh, we lost your sound, Alaska.
I'm sorry about that. I'm kind of like an ignoramus when it comes to remembering my mute functions. I'll post a link in the private chat.
Timestamp when if equal. That's actually a good idea.
Drunk
I
Dial
think that they
mentioned
should split the pot if they're within a certain deadline. I think if they have the same guess, they should just split the pot, as long as they're like, you have to put your guess in by the end of January or something.
Guess will be New Year's Eve, New York time.
Oh, I'll post the private view key in the comments.
The ball falls in New York.
Watch them come in yourself. There you go.
What'd you do?
It's a private view key, so people can watch the wallet themselves.
Oh, cool.
I think Drunk Dial Me had a good point about pulling all of his assets. I think it was Drunk Dial Me had a good point about pulling all of his assets out of the stock market and things that can be seized. Because I'm actually doing the exact same thing. I take like 20% of my paycheck every single month, and after I pay all of my bills and everything, like I have like 20% of my check left over, and I automatically just put it into Monero. Just put it in Monero. Put it in Monero. Put it in Monero. And I don't care what the price is or anything else. I just need to get it out of the dollar and put it in Monero.
Better than a 401k.
Wait, would that be called D dollar cost averaging?
Yep, because I want to get rid of the dollars as soon as possible. Like literally, I get my monthly, like my paycheck every month or whatever, and then immediately pay my bills and get rid of it. Like so, I have it for like 24 hours maybe.
So
yeah. My only real world concern is like Nodo project. So most people, everybody that purchased the Nodo paid with Monero, and we're just holding it in Monero.
Not everybody.
Yeah. Wait, yes, okay. Almost everybody. Almost everybody.
I went through a lot of bullshit to not pay in Monero. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, look, I got people that need this Monero. I can't, I gotta use dollars, bro. Like.
Yeah, how did we end up remember? I don't remember how we ended up doing that. But yeah,
I did a wire transfer.
Yeah,
remember?
You're crazy.
We need to ship a load of Monero out to Alaska.
The irony, Alaska, I'm using wire transfers.
He's got to get a point.
Like, I'm just saying, like, Alaska can't afford to lose Monero liquidity. Like, I'm looking out for my people here. You know what I'm saying?
He's got a good
like,
point, because like if you're gonna buy
Monero
Monero,
2025 in Alaska. I think we all need to. We need to go.
Dude,
visit.
if people
that
are
I could do.
complaining about getting to Argentina, like, you have no idea the nightmares that would have to happen to get to where I'm at, right? Like, now, don't get me wrong. If you get here, I could put on the most epic fucking party you've ever seen in your life. But like,
Monerotopia 2025.
Now we're talking. I do 2025.
Yeah, you could hold it in like Anchorage or something. That could work.
No.
I'd put this high. I'd highly consider this for 2025.
I'd be willing to even like host it in 2025. I could get a whole bunch of companies in on it and everything. But the thing is the timing would have to be the exact opposite of what I'm suggesting for Argentina. Because the thing is they already do MoneroKon in the summer in the northern hemisphere, right? So you should do Monerotopia during the summer in the southern hemisphere. That's kind of what I'm like recommending.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's currently what we're doing.
Yeah, but then the flip side of that is, like, let's say something happens with MoneroKon. Well, then you could do like a MoneroKon replacement in Alaska in the summer. But I'm also trying to point out that if you're an outsider, like in Alaska, we call it going outside if you leave Alaska. If somebody wants to come to the United States, it's a huge pain in the ass, right? Like there's all kinds of extra bullshit that you have to deal with to go to the United States. So, for example, you couldn't have that awesome, the Xano guy, that was one of the highlights of Monerotopia. That would be out there. Well, I mean, I could get him here, but that's a whole nother conversation. But something totally unrelated. Did you know that there's fishing charters that go to Ketchikan?
Completely unrelated.
Yeah.
But side note.
Yeah, just side note. If you ever wanted to go fishing when you come to Alaska, there's a lot of cool things. And you can look for my keys.
Where's Ketchikan? Where's Ketchikan?
What's that?
Where does the fishing charter go? From where to where?
Well, it's we'll talk. But here's the thing about like
my point with the Noto thing was I've been receiving pretty much all payments in Monero except for one. Yeah. And so we're
two nodes.
Okay. And so, it's a little to watch these I've traditionally never care, right? I'm all Monero. It's been a little bit difficult at times with the businesses. Whenever I use my personal fiat usually to fund the businesses for fiat payments. So then that allows us to keep the Monero. But with the Noto, I don't want to get caught short because there's some big expenses that are coming up with that, and the capital could potentially get cut in half. So you start to, when you actually use Monero in a very real way, and you make it, you live off Monero and you walk the walk, you don't talk the talk. You do realize that these things do potentially come an issue with the volatility of a cryptocurrency, which is.
So is the primary problem that you're concerned about the volatility eating into like business profits, or
my concern is let's say I sell, we sold 40 Notos already. Let's say we sell 50. They're $500. We're selling them for $500 each. If those funds get cut in half, it's going to be difficult for me to source the money to pay the supplier, right? We haven't made all those payments yet.
So in that case, you should do something like like a short position, like protection.
Yeah. So that's but just to be clear, I understand it's you might not have the fiat necessary to pay your suppliers in your supply chain, or you have the fiat to pay them, but you're just concerned about taking the price hit.
I potentially could have the fiat, but it's a big personal risk because that's a lot of fiat, and then I'm low on fiat, right? So that's the risk there. So it's a balance game. It's basically how much. It's basically that, do you want to go would you want to invest $50,000 in cash right now and buy Monero, right? That's really what it's coming down. Like that's effectively what the question is. Or do you want to stay in
Now,
cash?
So as far as the corporation goes, is it registered in New York? Like, do you have access to, for example, Kraken?
No, I don't have access to Kraken. Yeah, it's registered in New York. You know, with XMR Bazaar, we'll have perhaps an avenue to Kraken that way when we do that. But right now, yeah, we're cut off. Which is also, you know, I talk about it every once in a while, but don't really talk about it enough. The fact that Monero has never been listed on a centralized exchange here in New York is just incredible when you think about it. The amount of people that have been cut off from Monero from day one, it's tremendous.
So I think, was it Drunk Dial was just talking about taking, so you could take a short position, and this is something that's like, this is really what futures markets were invented for. Originally, it was farmers that wanted to make sure they locked in their price and didn't get screwed over by fluctuations in commodities prices. So hypothetically, if you're comfortable with the Monero price right now, and you wanted to mitigate some of that risk, you could open a short position. But the question is where, right? Like, you might not, since your company is in New York, you couldn't do it. The company couldn't do it, but hypothetically, you could do it potentially. I don't know if you have a residence somewhere else or if you have a way of accessing Kraken. But yeah, I mean, if you want to take a short position, you're going to have to get onto a centralized exchange. The other thing that you can do, and you're going to pay probably about 1% on either side of this trade. Hypothetically, you could use Trocador.app and just swap into stablecoins, right? So you could just get some USDC and probably go with USDC.
Is that currently the cheapest way to go into a stablecoin right now? What is currently the cheapest way? Was it one of these instant changes?
I find that
a significant amount of cash, like 50 grand. Yeah, I mean, I mean, there might be cheaper ways, but I don't think that there's that much liquidity on the atomic swap market yet, like to get in, because you'd have to swap from Monero into Ethereum and then Ethereum into a stablecoin on Uniswap. So it's like, you know, and then you're going to pay the Ethereum fees to do all that. Really, like paying the 1% spread, it's like 0.5% to 1%, depending on who you go with. Trocador.app is cool because they show you like which exchanges are good and bad. Like they give them an A, B, C, D score in terms of like, will they give you your money back if you refuse to KYC? How often do they KYC? Stuff like that. And they have an onion link.
But that's how I do it. Is use I use Coinbase and buy USDC each month, and then take the USDC over to Trocador and swap it for Monero.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so accustomed to not moving out of Monero, so it's just like I'm embedded. So I mean,
Doug's living the Monero life.
The truth is, I'll just leave it there. You know, if Monero hits a low of 110, it's just a matter of time if I could hold out long enough to when it starts to go back up. And
you know,
I mean, you can mitigate that risk easily by just doing 20,000, right? Like just do 20,000 into, like, if your fiat obligation there is going to be around 50K, then do like half of it, you know, or do 40% of it, and that way you're hedged at least a little bit.
And you know, one of the things but it's not about all or nothing. It's about like the improvement of the liquidity too, where it's like, so as an example, like if you wanted to keep it like super up and up, right? Like a company like mine could just have an agreement, right? Where on this day and this day every month, right? Like let's say the 10th and the 20th of every month, like a $500 fiat check is going to be sent business to business, right? And whatever the value of that check is when it arrives and is deposited, right? So the day that the check clears, like the exchange value of that Monero on like a given location is just liquidated into a certain wallet or whatever. And you could just have a price agreement that's based on that for, you know, X period of time. But you could do that with several different people who are interested in capitalizing Monero at a business level, right? And there's a lot of people who would be very interested in doing that, right? So, for example, a tobacco company could take fiat Fed notes and provide change in Monero, right? And if you're a tobacco company that sells, a whole bunch of cartons of cigarettes, and usually people come in, they pay with $100 bill, they get a carton of cigarettes, they get their change in Monero, right? They're providing a value-added service, and in exchange, they're also fiat capitalizing another company, right? Like, and I don't think you understand, like, the reason the farmers, like, I buy farmer futures in Alaska right now for barley production, right? Those farmers will not survive without it. Like, there's no fucking way, because if they do it through a bank, they're paying 10% or whatever. But if they do it through me, I get the value of the trucking infrastructure, right? By guaranteeing a certain price, I double my money because I truck all of that grain. So if the price goes up, I made money on the grain side. If the price goes down, I made it on the trucking side. So I'm hedged, and I pass that hedge along. You'd be doing the same thing. You're hedging your business, guaranteeing a long-term profitability, but you also ride out the volatility. And in exchange, you can create a value-added service for businesses halfway around the world, right? Like, I'm not even joking. I would help you do that, like, literally right now. I'll come up with 5 businesses right now that'll do $500 a month in liquidity at a certain price agreement if it falls between these ranges, and we'll do it for 3 months up to a total of $10,000 or whatever. I'll help you right now, and we'll keep it above board and everything.
Another thing to do is just simply sell at the averages. As I said, Monero does not seem to appear to deviate about 12% from the averages. So if you sell it like the 200-day moving average, then yes, right now technically people are going to pay more than $500 for it.
I just realized I didn't say that when I was saying a price agreement. But that's what I mean when I say price agreement. It's
just sell at the averages. You make
a deal amongst the two businesses that they're going to buy at a certain predictable number.
Okay, yeah, we could talk about that.
All right, so far we've got 13 bets.
Nice.
13 bets, and we've got almost $15 of a pot.
For people just tuning in, we're taking bets on what the high will be for Monero in 2024. You can place your bet by simply sending a Monero transaction to this address that's shown here, to this QR code. Tux, you could also post it again in the chat. We'll post the number, and just send the amount that representing what you think the high for Monero will be, starting with 0.00. So if you think it's going to be $200, 0.002.
Who was it that was asking me for a contact? Does anybody remember, before I forget? Because I have my matrix that I was going to give the guy. But now I can't even remember who asked me for my contact.
I don't know. Oh, what? Last show?
No, like, what, 15 minutes ago. Somebody said, we were talking about...
It was drunk dial me, wasn't it?
Drunk dial me.
Oh, yeah. It was drunk dial me.
I'm just thinking.
Alaskan on Matrix will work if you're out there. I hope you're still out there.
Yeah, drunk dial, you could hit me up and I'll try to put you in touch with them.
I was going to say what server, because you've got to have the server as well. So it's at Alaska.
It's matrix.org.
Yeah, just the regular matrix.org one right now.
Okay, you're matrix.org. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, like and share the show.
I'm going to show this real quick because the person unknown keeps mentioning it, and it is cool. So I'm sure a lot of you saw this on Twitter, but there is a laptop vendor that takes Monero called Nova Custom.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did see this.
And I've actually heard about them I've known about them for a little while. I had no idea they took Monero. I guess somebody found that out. But they offer laptops that come pre-installed with Windows or Linux, and a lot of their laptops are compatible with Core Boot or a Dash Arrow specific payload for Core Boot. And if you're like one of those people who want something like that, and what Core Boot is, it's like open source firmware, right? So the firmware is much more open than you typically have on like a Dell or an HP. And if you want something like that, they sell laptops, and they're a lot newer than like those old ThinkPads that people used to use, which you still can, but they're hard to use for some stuff. These are really high performance laptops. And I
Isn't
guess
Core
they
Boot
take
basically open source BIOS?
What is Core Boot?
Isn't Core Boot basically open source BIOS, if I remember correctly?
It's firmware,
It's
like
the
the whole
firmware.
package.
Yeah, and then like CBIOS is like the BIOS payload, or Tiano Core is like a UEFI payload for Core Boot. Core Boot's like a firmware and a loader. And this comes with Core Boot in Dashero. Dashero is like works as a BIOS and a UEFI, and it has a lot of security features, and it gets
Scroll down to the specs on that.
Let's see. This is just one random one. I click down. This is one you can get for less than $700.
I wish I knew this a week ago before Christmas. I just bought my daughter a laptop, but I think I could still return it.
Let's see. Let me add it to cart if I can.
I will
configure. Oh, yep. Let's configure. We get this. This one's a little bit old. This is 11th gen. Let me see. Let me see if I have a newer one.
Yeah, I would love to.
Oh, see, these two don't have Core Boot. These are the ones though. These ones that have the Core Boot image on them. These ones support Core Boot. So let's take a look at this one.
So just dumb this down for me for a sec, Tux. Like, these things are literally just as usable as any other laptop.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Basically the same. And I mean, these laptops themselves are nothing special. These are actually, some of these are probably the exact same laptops that System 76 sells. They come from a Chinese company called Tongfang. So they're more like a rebrander, but they're providing the additional firmware support. Like Nova Custom, they actually pay this German company to make the open source firmware. So they're going out of their way, paying this company to develop Core Boot firmware for these laptops. So they are providing a
just
service,
to elaborate,
them.
because I think what Doug is wondering is why bother, right? So here's the deal. Computers work with a stack, okay? So the lower on the stack you are, the more control you have over everything that's built on top of that stack. So the lowest part of the stack would be like control over the actual hardware, right? And everything is built on top of things that's built on top of things, right? So if you have root for your operating system, everything that's running on that operating system or using the software for that operating system has been compromised by that root access. Well, the thing is firmware is below the operating system. So it's the lower on the stack that you have vetted open source software that's highly secure, the more epic the hacker would have to be to compromise the entire machine. All right. Which is one of the reasons why graphene is so incredibly secure. It's because it's way down at the stack. You have highly vetted software.
Here she is.
And then everything
either
is
Bitcoin or Monero. That's it.
Sweet.
Now we're talking.
And you know what people are probably going to use?
Yeah.
This is one scenario where the Bitcoin fees actually isn't that.
I was going to say they're going to pay a $50 Bitcoin fee for their
somebody has to
laptop.
get them to post their numbers for who's using what, right? Like, we need to get some, like, I guess that would be Doug, some like popular figure to be like, look, could you please publish how many people buy with Bitcoin?
Yeah. I'll try to get them on the show. I'll try to get these guys on the show. They should be a sponsor. They should be sponsor one of our segments here on Monerotopia.
And we also have to get System 76 because, like, the Monero community is very interested in open source hardware at every level. Mm-hmm. In fact,
by the way,
everybody that you've
the
had
NV41 series, the NV41 series is Cube's. Like, it's one of the only laptops that's officially certified by Cube's.
Yeah, you're
compatible.
right.
So which would be a good
I would actually probably recommend this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I was say I'd probably recommend this over a Purism. Like, I have a Purism laptop, but if I was going to buy a new one, I'd probably get the Nova Custom NV41.
This one right here, and you can get it with like the lowest specs, and that would be
we're doing
that would be more than enough for whoever you're getting it for.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna return the one I got for my daughter, and I'm gonna get this.
There you get. It could come with the Ubuntu or Linux Mint. So Cubes OS certified requires more memory, but you could do Ubuntu or Linux Mint.
You know, Doug, the other thing about
I'd get her
getting,
Windows.
getting your daughter a laptop.
Uh-oh.
I mean, she's 9 years old. And
uh-oh. You're paying an extra $62.
People pay
get her
for that
overall?
shit? What the well, anyways, Doug, one thing that I'd tell you about, like, when it comes to getting your daughter into computing, it can't be overstated. Find somebody who has somewhat of a teaching background and find some method of encouragement to get her to troubleshoot further customization of a computer. So one of the things that made more women computer literate than anything else ever was when MySpace kind of gave you an advantage for learning HTML. My wife went from completely computer illiterate to like super computer savvy because of MySpace. My wife is very young. We're talking about like 10-year-old to me, right? So, and now she's like quite computer savvy, but women are usually very interested in the personalization aspect of a computer and getting it to do exactly what they want. And the earlier they learn to be, it's very different than trying to like get a man to learn to use computers, because you usually tackle it from the engineering side of things. But women are much more interested in the customization and flexibility that computers have to offer. And so finding somebody with the teaching background that will kind of get the ball rolling on that will set her many, many years ahead of her peers. And there are a lot of people that will do that. So in fact, I would be willing to point to some people in the Linux community that have done that for my kids or for Chloe or for Demi or whatever.
Awesome, man. Dude, I love the way your mind works. Your takes. I love it. So it's always something unique. No,
yeah,
I'm
but
actually
if you want a
gonna
decent laptop for Monero, Nova Custom.
Yeah.
And the core boot's something that people like in the privacy open source space definitely value. And yeah, Lescanana's he summed it up pretty well. It's like the low level code that the hardware runs on, and it's nice for that to be open source.
Beautiful. I will let you guys know if I pull the trigger on that and get one.
Got a few more bets coming in.
Nice. Anything crazy? Wait, go through the bets for a sec. Anybody? So everybody's going high, right? Is anybody going low? Okay, did I see a 31?
First one's 1,000, and then we've got 238. This one's mine. 756, 625.
Doug, we're betting on the high of Monero. Why would somebody go low when you're betting on the high?
We do have a few low ones.
Well,
310, 520, 385, 250, getting lower. 333, another 420, 421, 220. 185. Wow. Bearish. And 300.
I mean, what's the price now, right? There is a doomsday scenario. Monero gets
185 is bearish. It's 166. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna go above that at some point. It might not go all the way to 1,000, but it'll.
That's why I said 250, because I figured that's a good medium range. As I said, though, my average bet is 175 as an average.
We've got a $20 pot now, so it's going up a little bit.
No, we don't have a $20 pot. We have a how many
Monero pot.
There you go. You don't quote prices in dollars. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Unfortunately, that's the main reference of value that the world uses still. But I appreciate your change of view. 0.12 Monero pot, guys.
How many dollars do you think Monero is going to be worth, David?
Oh yeah.
How many dollars do you think Monero is going to be worth in 2024? Come on. 5.
Oh, shit. I hope not, man. Don't do that.
Wow.
We talked about it going low. That hurts. Like, I thought you wanted to be paid in Monero, David. No.
Maybe he meant 5 Bitcoin.
All right. If you're gonna be shy, then I'll just turn the camera off. Let's see what you say. How much is Monero going to be worth in dollars, David?
5.
That hurts, man.
500.
5,000.
You gotta appreciate the confidence, though.
Yeah, he's maybe he's right. Maybe he knows something. Kids these days.
It's gonna be worth 5 gold bars.
5.
No good bars.
Oh, 5 gold bars.
No.
No, not gold bars. I wish I hadn't turned it off, because right after I turned the mic off, he was like, when I asked him how much in dollars, he's like, it doesn't work. Like he's saying what Shortwave was saying. You can't price it in dollars.
All right, guys. We're at 3 hours. It's been a hell of a show today.
Wow.
I did put that. I'm put it up again, but I put the private view key in the comments so you guys can open that on a wallet if you want to watch.
Yeah, make sure to add that to like the description of the YouTube video and the podcast when the podcast comes out, the podcast description.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll stop taking bets on like New Year's Eve, New York.
So any bets after New Year's Eve, New York time will be disqualified.
Yes. Any bets after that would just be donations to the pot.
When is New Year's Eve? Tomorrow night. Wow, jeez.
Tomorrow night. So
no,
a little over 24 hours.
Oh, it was a good year. It was a fun year. 2024 is going to be highly entertaining, though. I'd be shocked if things calm down.
No, it's going to get crazier.
Yeah. It's only ramping up. Any last remarks anybody wants to put out there for 2023 before we close it out?
I have a suggestion for 2023. And for those who are listening, I think the Monero community should we should find a way to vote and tally, but we should try to pick 1 or maybe 2 projects that we all as a community agree to focus a certain amount of time or money on every, for a project for a 1-year goal. Does that make sense? So maybe a 1-year goal of, a big one for me would be open source hardware, right? And I know that would be big in the Monero community. Or another one is like what you've done, Doug, focus on adoption in one area, like Monerotopia kind of inadvertently did. I think it would be really cool to maybe have a round table show where we all try to come together for a targeted goal on an annual basis as a community.
That's cool. So give me an example. And we would do what though? We would.
Let me turn David's computer on. It'll take 2 seconds.
Okay. Pluto and Aquarius will stay for the next 20 years.
So just if you're a company, you have a 1, a 3, and a 5-year goal, right? And push the power button on the monitor. And some countries have a 5, 10, 20-year goal or whatever. I think that the best platform for Monero to come up with a timed horizon goal for Monero as a community would be this platform. And then every January we should have a roundtable discussion for a time horizon goal of 1 year.
I love this kid.
I just about got to run. But we do have 2 more people that just joined the stage if you want to keep talking.
Yeah, let's let them up. You got a run, Tux?
Yep. But we got Danny and Comrade Blinn up here.
No worries. Can you just leave the QR code up?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it'll go away when my screen locks, but I will just
no worries if you can. I don't think so.
Okay, so
a
time horizon goal though in January, by the end of January, we should try to have a year goal until the next year goal in January. Because
if you think about one of the downsides of the open source software community, so you have like 10 million people doing 10 million things, and it takes 10 million times as long, as opposed to like focus groups of tackling one specific goal at a time, and a lot of mental energy grabbing little pieces of that, right? And the thing is I've seen in the case of you, Doug, like one of your talents is to kind of like rally the troops and like hone in on the goal, right? And then come up with ways to get a lot of people that probably wouldn't play nice together to work together pretty effectively. And I think that there would be a serious value to like, this right here is our goal. So for example, maybe it's like, we're going to get one, Rust Belt town in fucking Nebraska to have every business accepts Monero or something like. I mean, that would be a terrible example, but like a really good example would be
focusing on Iberete and Formosa, right? It already has some traction there. Putting all the resources.
So maybe like by Monerotopia on this day, like everybody in this town is going to have an active Monero, like, and specifically it should probably be a cake wallet, right? Like everybody's going to have a cake or a Monero.com wallet. Everybody's going to know how to use it, and everybody will accept it, right? Like that's the goal. And without any coercion, without any like just straight up bribery, right? But just incentivize it through all kinds of various means. You try to knock out like one project at a time. And maybe we could start off small before we try to tackle the open source hardware thing or whatever. But that is one thing that I would like to see happen with this community, this level of brain power that's available to us. And not only that, but this level of financing, right? Like it's, or maybe,
let's do it. Let's activate it. We could, maybe even next show, because it'll be the beginning of the new year. We could do something like we're doing right now, actually, with this wallet idea, and use that for people to vote. We could have like maybe come up with like 5 different options, let people vote, and then the top voted project is one that we focus on, and then report progress a year from now. I like it.
And we could also like, you have your 1 year goal, and then maybe every like quarter you have a really simple goal. Like we're going to take the Monero pamphlet guy's work, we're going to update it, make it gorgeous or whatever. And then we're going to translate it into all of these languages and then print them and hand them out. And the goal is to we get 100 people to hand out 200 pamphlets in their home community in their native language, right?
I think focusing on it doesn't have to be this, but I just keep thinking like focusing on Formosa, Iberete, because there's already so much energy there, and then we're doing Copa Monero, so that's gonna play into it, and just trying to grow Monero adoption. It could even be in the main city of Formosa, which is that's an actual substantial city as opposed to like the village of Iberete.
I would even be willing to add like, it would be interesting to see the data that comes out of it too. Right? Because could you imagine what kind of data could be gleaned from a community adopting somewhat of a parallel standard, and then seeing like if those businesses see a growth in their gross revenue over here versus over here, if the value of the currency held up against the one that they were using or whatever. I mean, all of the data would just be amazing as well.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts for closing out 2023? Oh, we have the new people, right? I can't. They're too small up here with the thing up. Who do we got? Who do we got up here on stage? Danny
and Blinn.
What's going on?
What's going on, Danny?
No, not too much. Just getting ready to catch a flight later to Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For New Year's?
Yeah, kind of. And going to Quartzsite. There's a big RV convention there, like I think 1 million people show up supposedly every year. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's
But,
badass.
yeah, I'm looking forward to Anarchapulco, and
Yes.
your guys coming from Argentina, and then I've got the two-man guy coming back. Maybe we'll do a marketplace and have some fun with that.
Very cool. So yeah. So we should say Alessandro is probably going to attend, right? He's the kid from Iberete, doing the whole Monero town thing.
Yeah,
I'm in touch with Danny, and so he's going to be a speaker.
Yes.
At Poco. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we've got Juan coming back from Tumen, so his idea is to set up a table and sell stuff for Tumen, and we should have the wallet ready for him, and we're gonna give digital Tumen to the goers of Anarchapulco so that they can spend it. And we're working on a multi-coin wallet by forking Ycash. So I don't know if we can get Monero in that, but hopefully we can.
Very cool.
When is
Anarchapulco?
February 11th through the 17th.
I don't think we're gonna make it there. We got a family thing going on.
Yeah,
but maybe. Exciting that Alessandro will be there. That's amazing.
Have Body do it as a remote reporter guy. It'd be easier for him.
I'm still looking for one more. We have Arctic Mine was supposed to be in person, but he has a court date, and he thought he was going to be able to be in person, and they told him no, that he does have to be in court. So I have room for one more. I'd like to get somebody from Monero to fill that spot for in person. We're still going to have Francisco's presentation as a virtual, but that's not like a stage. That's on a separate stage. So for main stage, I'd like to get one. What's that?
Maybe Body will do. I think he attended last year, but maybe he wants to present. I don't think he presented last year.
No, I had him present.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we had him on. I had him on the talk. So every morning of Anarchapulco, I do a 1-hour show, and I get I try to keep it crypto, but sometimes I have to do some of the other stuff, and the yoga and all the other, I'm not into all that other crap. I'm just there for the crypto. I don't give a shit about, all this Buddhist bullshit. Like, just let me, let's keep it tech, but it brings in other people. It is cool for other people. That's just not my thing.
I would go down there. It was fun. Anytime the first time I went, it was a blast. We had a great time down there.
Yeah. This it'll be a little bit smaller than last year, just because of the damage from the hurricane. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And that was, I don't know, I think we've mentioned that before, but Monero was the biggest crypto that was sent to the hurricane relief. And
yeah, that is amazing.
We were not able to get the GoFundMe funds for over a week. I think it was almost 10 days before we got any of the GoFundMe funds. So, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did in the important time of need without Monero, because we were literally using all the crypto for the for the whole thing up to that point. So
that was incredible to see that Monero just dwarfed like Bitcoin even in terms of donations.
Yeah. Well,
was it incredible though? I mean, we've been seeing that's been the case for like 7 years now.
Yeah. Well, previously, a lot of the other projects that I worked on before were the donations were huge in Bitcoin, but you could afford to send a transaction then. Now it's like you have to mortgage your home just to send $3 in Bitcoin. What the fuck?
Yeah, but think about it in terms of as a percentage of users, though.
Oh,
Like,
it's selling
the
usable.
Monero community has always been the most generous, as far back as I can remember, is the percentage of users and like the liquidity pool available, even way back in the day. You know, there were so many Bitcoiners and so few Monero people, and yet the Monero donations have always been.
Dash was pretty epic. I did a lot of stuff with that. That was sponsored by Dash for some of the stuff we did. I mean, I literally built 4 homes in Puebla with donations from Dash. So they're, they don't.
Monero has a lot to learn from Dash. There's a lot of things that need to be replicated from that journey in the Monero community. But
yeah, I think Dash's downfall, I think, was the CEO of their Dash core group, but
their centralization was their Achilles heel.
Yeah, but they've gotten rid of that guy, so the Ryan Taylor guy. So I'm hopeful for them. I hope they at least come back a little bit. I mean, it was a great community. I mean, really good people there. So, and that's the number one thing. I mean, above all is the community. I mean, what good is a crypto if it doesn't have a community?
And I think one thing that hurt them a lot was the Instamine, whether it was accidental or genuine, or in the whole way. I'm somewhat versed in what happened there, but that wasn't a good thing that happened, and I think it turned a lot of people off.
That's true, but also Litecoin had the exact same thing. In fact, that's how it happened to Dash, is because of the code that came from Litecoin. Only Charlie Lee called Litecoins. In Litecoin, it was called a fast mind instead of an Instamine, but they were basically the same thing.
Anybody else? Comrade, are you still there? Is Comrade there?
I'm still here. I'm just on my laptop, and well, let's test out the microphone then. Microphone, sorry. Is it clear?
Yeah, we hear
you. Okay, sounds
nice.
great.
Yeah.
Doug, could you speak after the show about if I may come to the dev reports again, as I have time now? And yeah, so
Sure. For sure. We'll reach out to us, or we'll reach out to you. Yeah, we can figure something out.
I messaged you on Telegram.
Okay, sweet.
I still remain convinced that you could up the viewership by having an extra show a week of regular time, and the dev report would be like a perfect way to do that. But
yeah, I don't know if we have the bandwidth for it, but I'm open to anything. Maxim is asking, when is XMR Bazaar planned to be up and running? We're hoping Anarchio is dead set on trying to finish it before the year ends, and then we'll be open for testing. So early January, figure.
Speaking about which, you told me some QR code related thingy when we last spoke. What about that?
Oh, for gratuitous. Yeah, we could talk about that. We could talk about that offline. Try to figure out if we can make that work. Yeah, anybody that's interested in XMR Bazaar, you could jump into the chat on Element. I don't know if I have what's the easiest way to share a chat room from Element? Anybody know?
Doesn't it have a forward button when you right click it?
I got it.
Sure.
So I'll put it in the chat. Anybody else want to throw anything out before we close it out? 2023 comments. I just put the link to the chat for Bazaar for anybody that wants to be part of the early launch. We can start testing it. Please jump in that room.
And what is that? Can you? I'm late to the game here.
XMR Bazaar, we've been working on it for almost a year now, or I guess maybe 6 months. It's being built by Anarchio. It's going to be a peer-to-peer Monero-based marketplace with multi-signature escrow built into it.
Okay, so like Open Bazaar was, or Haven is what
Think of it like Monerozon.com. Right.
Yeah. More like a Craigslist, but with Monero payment built into it, and essentially a trustless escrow, so people can use Monero to buy and sell goods and services directly peer to peer. It's not decentralized, and we're going to be running XMR Bazaar on our servers. It's not a dark market, but it's a marketplace where anybody can come on there. You can create accounts anonymously, and you can sell your goods and services. My hope is it becomes a place where consulting becomes popular, where people sell consulting services for Monero. But whatever it turns out.
And do you have a way of keeping out the illegal stuff?
Well, it's going to have to be curated to a degree. I mean, the terms will be that if you have to use this in accordance with your local laws, right, and those of the people that you're engaging with.
Yeah,
peer to peer, after all, right? So it's so much like the users are responsible. Obviously, the platform is responsible to a degree. If we see egregious things that are clearly illegal, we'll delete them.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to end up in a cell next to Ross.
No, definitely not. But we think there's value there for.
Some of us might not mind being in a cell right next to Ross. Like that, it'd be a lot to talk about.
Our one of the guy, the guy that he was accused of killing, Curtis Green. He's joined our Dragon X crew over there, and he's got some pretty crazy stories about how all of that went down. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. Yeah, he was the guy with the tomato soup on his face.
For those of you who are listening, though, like I just put, and I don't have like an actual stake necessarily in the project, but like the early testing of XMR Bazaar is going to be very fundamental to the level of success that it can attain going forward. Testing is going to be incredibly important, and testing with some tech savvy people and some not tech savvy people is crucial, because you need people who can suggest solutions, but you also need people that can idiot proof the system.
I have a question.
I'll be one of the latter, the idiot proofing people, and we need more of those people that are going to help improve the UX. Right, I want this to be as usable as possible, super simple, super easy for people to engage. Go ahead, Dan.
I have a question. Does anybody know anything about this XMR swaps on Samurai?
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit. Alaskanon, I don't know. Do you know the details? Is it just being used for washing toxic change, or are they actually are people going to be able to?
Sort of. The XMR swap thing appears to be basically a supplement to like a whirlpool type of thing. And that really does appear to be the way that they're hoping to use it. But the other thing is Samurai Wallet is an open source platform, so it also kind of builds tools that other people can mix and match how they want to use it, however they want to use it. But the atomic swap thing, has been around for a while now as far as BTC XMR. So there's nothing really pioneering about it that I can see. But the reality is I don't use Samurai Wallet because I don't use Bitcoin, because the only crypto I use at this point, and probably going forward forever, is Monero. So
what's exciting about it is it's a bridge to the Bitcoin privacy community, who already, most of them are already okay with Monero, but maybe we'll pull more of them into the Monero world. Go ahead, Bawdy.
Yeah, to add on to that, with the Samurai Wallet, they've they said since day one that if you ever see us doing altcoins, you know we've been compromised. And they took a lot of crap when they started offering XMR swaps. But the important thing I believe that they said is, listen, we're only handling the Bitcoin side of it. If you want to do the Monero side of it, you're going to need a Monero wallet for that. We don't actually hold Monero in our wallet. So I wouldn't expect that those guys are ever going to have like, they're probably never going to integrate like a full XMR BTC swap implementation. So.
Which is why I always give them shit, right? Because I just don't really. They come across as slightly hypocritical for me in that regard. Because if their goal is to create digital cash, why are they? And they're even at the point where they need to use Monero for these purposes. Why don't they just take it the step further? Why are they cutting off their users from accessing it when they should be providing a platform for them to access it as easily as possible if this is what they're out there fighting for in the first place?
I can understand that. I think it's mostly about the fact that they're trying to stick to their word, because they kind of painted themselves in a corner, and it was during the whole the fork wars and everything. Monero still wasn't all that well known, and it wasn't really all that well proven at the time. So they might not have even known about Monero when they made that statement, but they don't. I can understand why as a product they don't want to suddenly go back on that, even if it's kind of like the right thing to do, because they're trying to keep their credibility intact.
Yeah, but they've also got mining pools that are going to exclude transactions from their wallet. Like, what kind of fucking bullshit is that?
Yeah, Samurai's the ones being excluded. Ocean Pool is the ones that with the crazy Luke Dash Jr. And a few other guys. But yeah, they're excluding Samurai transactions now.
There's a privacy channel that you can find on YouTube if you use YouTube. Watchman Privacy. He has an interview with Samurai Wallet that's very, very recent.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to be doing one. I'm going to be doing one with him soon as well. I've been talking to him recently. So.
Gabriel Custodiate, I think is his name.
Yeah.
But he did a Samurai Wallet interview and something dojo. I can't even remember, but it was really recent. So there's an analogy that he used, which is if you think of Bitcoin like a ship, and there's all of these people on the ship and they're fighting amongst each other for steering the ship in a given direction, right? The analogy really works for what I perceive as what's going on with Samurai right now, which is they're trying really, really hard to steer Bitcoin in the original cypherpunk direction that it was meant to be going. And they're trying really hard to preserve that as long as can feasibly be done. And it actually reminds me a lot of the Seth for privacy ethos as well. There are people like ourselves that are we just go to the thing that is effective and works, but there are other people that have a big heart for the masses, I guess you could say. And keep in mind, there's all kinds of businesses that have been built on the backs of Bitcoin. There's all kinds of other technologies that are pioneered on Bitcoin. There's a lot of passion projects tied up into this shit. And Samurai Wallet is one of those passion projects. And there are so many people who, you could look at it as though they're fighting for what they believe in until they know they can't fight anymore. Or you could look at it as sunken cost fallacy like I do. But I at least respect the fact that they are sticking to their guns and trying to make it work. But on the flip side, I do believe it is a sunken cost fallacy. I think that. Go ahead.
There's a lot to be said for the fact that, like, if you want to try and pull some of the hardcore maximalists and sort of shake them from being a little bit too hardcore and open them up, you kind of have to meet them halfway. And like you said, Seth seems to be trying to do that. Samurai seems to be trying to do that. One thing Larkin Rose said that I really appreciated is, like, he says, well, you need to be nicer when you talk to people. Oh, you need to bash them over the head. And it's like, well, everyone's going to respond to something a little bit differently. And the most important thing is to be congruent to your own personality and to spread good ideas in the way that's most comfortable to you. And also, you know, I mean, while trying to be socially savvy about it, but it does make a lot of sense to have some people, you know, that are more on the hardcore Monero side and really like calling out the hypocrisy. But we do need guys like Seth, and we do need guys like Samurai that are trying to meet other people halfway to create better outcomes.
Agreed. All right, guys. I think that's a good place to leave it. We're at like 3.5 hours.
It is the end of the year show, so I mean, it's
the year. We fit a lot in today.
Yeah.
I don't think we're not getting a live feed on these donations here, but I don't know if more came in or not. Donations, bets.
Didn't he post the view key somewhere? I think he did.
Yeah, he did. He posted the view key. So we'll see. We'll be back a year from now to award the winner, the best guess for the Monero top price in 2024. It shall be interesting, no matter what it is. And guys, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Happy New Year, everyone. I think it was great 2023. Looking forward to 2024. And cheers to everybody that's been helping us and everybody that participates. We do these shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we'll keep doing that in 2024. And have a good New Year. Cheers, guys.
Happy New Year, guys.
Cheers.
Happy New Year. Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Cheers.
All right.